What if your thoughts were not yours at all? Imagine for a moment that every flicker of awareness in your mind is not private, not personal, but rather the universe bending back on itself, gazing through your eyes. The trees, the stars, the silence of night, all of it might only exist because consciousness is there to witness it, and that consciousness is nothing separate from the cosmos itself. You are not a fragment trapped in flesh. You are the cosmos, rehearsing the act of recognition. This is not a metaphor, but a suggestion whispered through physics, philosophy, and the strange loops of existence, that reality does not exist without awareness, and awareness is simply reality folded inward. Tonight, as you lie listening, the question remains, are you the observer of the universe, or is the universe observing itself through you? Imagine standing before a mirror that never ends, a reflection folding back upon itself again and again, until the edges blur into eternity. At first it seems like a simple trick of light, your face cast into the silver glass, then multiplied into countless versions fading into the distance. But look closer. Each reflection is not simply a copy, it is an echo of perception itself, a corridor where self-awareness and reality dissolve into one. The mirror is not in front of you, it is within you, and each time you look into it, you are not just seeing yourself, you are witnessing the universe, staring back. What if consciousness works like this? Not as a solid object, not as a thing you possess, but as a mirror suspended in infinity, endlessly reflecting. You are not the origin of awareness, but a point within the recursive hall where awareness reflects itself. When you think of yourself as I, you may only be one reflection, one flicker on the endless chain, but what lies at the source, at the place before the first reflection? If infinity is a loop, then perhaps there is no beginning at all, no first reflection, only the endless act of gazing. Infinity resists definition. It cannot be measured, boxed, or reduced to something smaller than itself. Yet when you close your eyes and listen, when you notice the quiet rhythm of your breathing, it seems infinity is already here, not out in the stars, not in mathematical abstractions, but right inside the presence that knows. A thought appears. Where did it come from? Another follows. Who noticed it? You lean closer into the mirror of your own mind, and the distinction between the thought and the observer begins to soften. What if they are the same thing? What if the act of noticing is the same as the thought being noticed? This paradox deepens when you turn it outward. Look at the night sky. Each star, each galaxy, each beam of light traveling billions of years to touch your retina. Why do they exist? The scientific answer is cosmology, the Big Bang, expansion, the physics of time and matter. But beneath that is a quieter question. Without an observer to see them, would those stars have any meaning at all? Consciousness acts as the mirror in which the cosmos appears. And so, every glimpse of starlight, every moment of awareness, is not separate from the universe. It is the universe gazing into itself, a mirror turned toward infinity. Philosophers have long wrestled with this. The ancient Greeks imagined the cosmos as a living being, a soul stretching across space. Eastern traditions whispered of Indra's net, a web of jewels where each jewel reflects all others, an image of infinite reflection, much like the mirror in your mind. Modern physics, too, carries the echo. Quantum experiments suggest that observation changes reality itself. The act of looking, of measuring, does not simply reveal the universe, it alters it. This is the mirror of infinity, hidden in plain sight. Think of the moments you've caught your own gaze in a mirror. Unexpectedly, a flash of recognition, almost strange, as if someone else were watching from behind your eyes. It lingers for a second, then vanishes, as quickly as it came. That is the crack in the ordinary. The glimpse that what you call you is only one angle of the mirror, one perspective among infinite folds. If you could step outside, you might see not one face, not one self, but countless reflections, each one aware of being aware. That awareness is the fabric, and the self is merely its temporary pattern. The mirror of infinity does not answer questions. It multiplies them. If consciousness is a mirror, who, or what, does the reflecting? If the universe is looking at itself, then where is the boundary between observer and observed? Every attempt to pin it down slips away, because the mirror only works by reflecting, never by revealing its own surface. The more you chase it, the further the horizon retreats. Yet in that chase lies the quiet secret. The search is the reflection. The endless loop is not a mistake, it is the very nature of being. And so you lie here, breathing, listening, watching thoughts drift in and out, each one a reflection in the mirror of infinity. You notice yourself noticing. You wonder who is doing the wondering. The circle folds back, and you realize there is no final answer, only this infinite recursion, this endless looking. Perhaps the point was never to find the origin, but to dissolve into the reflection itself, to be the mirror and the image, the watcher and the watched, all at once. You are the mirror of infinity. Close your eyes for a moment, and try to draw a line where your awareness ends. Is it at the edge of your skin, where your body meets the air? Is it at the boundary of your thoughts, where words and images appear in the mind? Or does it stretch further beyond the body, beyond the mind, out into the vastness of the night? The more you look for the boundary of awareness, the more it seems to dissolve, like mist touched by the sun. The edges vanish, the moment you try to grasp them. Awareness appears to be without borders, without walls, a field that expands endlessly in every direction. You are taught to believe in boundaries. The skin separates you from the world. The brain defines your thoughts. Society insists on divisions, self and other, mind and matter, inside and outside. Yet when you look directly at awareness, none of those lines appear. The sound of a bird, the rush of wind, the flicker of a thought, where do they happen? They do not occur inside or outside. They simply occur in awareness, and awareness is everywhere. Think of the ocean. Each wave rises with its own form, its own identity, its own moment of glory. But is the wave truly separate from the sea, or is it simply the sea in motion, shaped temporarily into a form before dissolving again? Your thoughts, your emotions, your sense of self, they are the waves. Awareness is the ocean, boundless, endless, always here. The wave cannot exist apart from the ocean, and you cannot exist apart from awareness. This idea is not new. Mystics across cultures spoke of awareness without boundaries. In Buddhism, the concept of sunyata points to emptiness, form without essence, self without edges. In Advaita Vedanta, the self is identified as Atman, which is not separate but identical with Brahman, the boundless reality. Even in neuroscience, there are hints the brain does not contain consciousness the way a jar contains water. It may shape it, channel it, but the essence of awareness seems irreducible, impossible to pin down in physical terms. The illusion of boundaries persists because of perception. Eyes show you what looks like an edge. Skin feels what seems like a separation, but perception itself arises in awareness. You cannot point to awareness as an object because it is the field in which objects appear. Every color, every sound, every sensation exists in the boundless openness of awareness, inseparable and infinite. Think of standing in a dark field under the stars. You gaze upward, and the sky stretches endlessly. The stars are points of light, scattered across the canvas of infinity. As you watch, you realize awareness is like that sky. It has no edges. The stars are like thoughts, sensations and feelings, appearing briefly, shining brightly, then fading away. Yet the space in which they appear remains infinite, untouched, unchanged. This boundarylessness also dissolves time. When you focus intently on the present moment, the past and future dissolve into memory and anticipation, both of which appear within awareness now. Where then are the limits? Awareness is not trapped in linear sequence. It expands beyond time, holding memory and possibility in the same open field. The moment you stop trying to locate it, you notice it everywhere, limitless. But the question arises, if awareness has no boundaries, why do you feel confined? Why do you wake each morning convinced you are a single, separate being? Because identity is the story the wave tells itself. The form says, I am this, not that. The body says, I end here, the world begins there. Yet look again, do you experience the world outside you, or do you experience it as arising in awareness? If everything you know, from galaxies to grains of sand, appears in awareness, then what is outside of it? Nothing. Awareness without boundaries includes all. There is comfort in this realization. The fear of isolation begins to soften. You are not a fragment adrift in an infinite void. You are the void itself, alive with stars, alive with the pulse of existence. The mind insists on separation, but awareness whispers unity. The walls fall away, and all that remains is an openness that cannot be broken. Tonight, as you lie here, listening, notice that awareness stretches effortlessly. The sound of these words is not inside or outside. It simply is. The rhythm of your breath, the quiet weight of your body, the spaces of silence between thoughts, each arises in the same boundless field. There is no edge, no final wall, no end. Awareness is without boundaries, and you are that awareness. Memory is usually thought of as something small and fragile, tied to your brain, stored in neural pathways, a flicker of electricity that holds the imprint of a moment. You remember your first breath of winter air, the sound of a loved one's voice, the way a page in a book felt under your fingertips. Yet what if memory is not limited to your mind at all? What if the cosmos itself remembers, carrying every movement, every vibration, every particle in a hidden archive? You are not just recalling, you are tapping into the memory of the universe itself. Think of the way light travels. A star that exploded millions of years ago still sends its memory across space in the form of photons. When one of those photons touches your eye, you are not looking into the past, you are receiving it directly. The star may have long since vanished, but the cosmos remembers it, sending you the story written in light. In this way, memory is not just internal, it is not a fragile mental note. It is woven into reality itself, stored in the very movement of energy through time. When you close your eyes and try to recall yesterday, your mind stirs with fragments. But beneath those fragments lies something deeper, an unbroken continuity of experience, stretching backward through the days, months, and years of your life. The question is, does the cosmos forget anything? The leaves that fell in autumn, the waves that broke on forgotten shores, the conversations that no one was around to hear, are they erased, or are they stored in the vast unconscious of the universe? Quantum physics suggests that no piece of information is ever truly lost. It transforms, yes. It scatters, but it remains somewhere folded into the background fabric of existence. Perhaps this is why memory feels so much bigger than the mind. At times, you catch yourself remembering things you never experienced, images from dreams, places you've never been, or sensations you cannot explain. These may not be errors of the brain, but glimpses into the cosmos, remembering itself through you. The same awareness that witnesses stars and galaxies might also be carrying fragments of all that ever was, and you, for a moment, become the vessel through which the cosmos recalls its own story. Philosophy has long whispered about this. Plato spoke of an amnesis, the idea that knowledge is not learned but remembered, as though we already contain it all, and life is a process of recollecting what was always there. In Hindu traditions, Akashic records were said to hold every event, thought, and word ever spoken, suspended in the ether of the universe. Even neuroscience, in its own way, confirms that memory is not isolated. It is relational, triggered by context, smells, textures, feelings, external cues, reminding you of what is already embedded in experience. So when you remember, it is not simply a private act. You are syncing with a deeper pulse, joining the memory of the universe itself. The cosmos remembers in patterns. Galaxies spiral like the shells of ancient seas. The DNA in your body carries memories written billions of years ago in single-celled organisms that first learned how to survive. Your heartbeat carries the memory of every ancestor, stretching back into deep time, each one surviving long enough to pass their rhythm to you. The cosmos remembers not just in structure, but in silence. Consider how sound lingers. A bell rung in a canyon sends vibrations that ripple outward, fading but never truly gone. The molecules they moved continue to move others, carrying the trace indefinitely. In the same way, every word you speak, every gesture you make, is folded into the cosmic memory, subtle yet present. Perhaps this is why moments feel heavy, why silence sometimes feels thick. The weight of everything remembered presses gently against the present. This leads to a strange realization. If the cosmos remembers everything, then nothing is truly lost. Not the forgotten dreams, not the quiet tears, not the laughter that vanished into night air. All of it remains, which means that you are not only living your own life, you are carrying the memory of the universe in your very being. Consciousness becomes the place where that memory is recalled. You are not remembering just your story, you are the cosmos remembering itself. And if the cosmos remembers, then maybe death itself is not an ending but a refolding of memory into the larger whole. The individual stream flows back into the ocean, but the water is never erased. It is absorbed, merged, and carried forward. So when you think of your own memories, the warm ones and the painful ones, consider that they are not isolated sparks in a fading brain. They are threads in a cosmic archive, woven together with the light of stars and the silence of ancient forests. Tonight, as you listen, think of yourself not as a single being trying to hold on to fleeting moments, but as the memory of the cosmos in motion. Your awareness is not separate. It is a continuation. The cosmos remembers, and through you it is remembering now. Silence is often mistaken for emptiness, a void where nothing happens, a pause between the real events of life. But if you listen carefully, Silence is not absence. It is presence. Within it, sounds arise and dissolve. Within it, thoughts emerge and fade. Silence is not empty. It is the space that holds everything. And if you let yourself sink into it deeply enough, silence begins to reveal its own constellations. Stars appear inside it, not literal stars of burning gas, but points of clarity, of awareness, glowing within the stillness of your mind. Imagine standing in a field at night. No noise, no voices, only the faint hum of existence itself. As you gaze upward, the stars do not compete with silence. They emerge from it, carried by it, shining because of it. In the same way, the silence of your mind is not an obstacle to experience, but the very stage on which experience appears. Without silence, there could be no sound. Without stillness, no movement. Without space, no stars. The stars inside silence are your own awareness. Each thought is like a flicker of starlight, appearing briefly against the infinite background. Each memory is a constellation, fragile yet luminous, drawn upon the canvas of stillness. And yet, as with the night sky, the silence itself is larger than any pattern. The stars do not fill the sky completely. They decorate it, hinting at its depth, but they can never exhaust it. Awareness works the same way. Your thoughts and perceptions sparkle like stars, but they arise within the silence that is far vaster, far older, and far more enduring. The mistake most people make is to fill silence, to run from it, to treat it as something to escape. But if silence contains stars, then it is not an enemy, it is a gift. In silence, you can see awareness most clearly, because nothing obscures it. When the chatter of the mind subsides, when the noise of the world fades, the subtle glow of consciousness stands out like starlight in the night. Philosophy and science both echo this truth. The ancient mystics retreated into silence, not as withdrawal but as communion, recognizing that stillness was not emptiness, but fullness beyond words. Modern cosmology tells us the same. The universe is mostly silence, vast spaces of nothingness out of which stars and galaxies emerge. Matter is rare, space is abundant, yet it is within that quiet expanse that all creation happens. Think of your own life. The moments you remember most vividly are not always the loudest ones. Sometimes it is the pause, the quiet walk alone, the stillness before dawn, the breath you took before speaking that carries the greatest weight. Silence gives shape to meaning, just as the black canvas of the night sky makes the stars visible. Without silence, the stars would be swallowed, unseen. There is also a paradox here. Silence itself is not silent. Listen closely, and you notice that silence hums, it vibrates. It carries the subtle presence of being alive. This is why silence can feel so loud at times, because in it, you confront the raw presence of existence itself. There is no distraction, no curtain, no story to soften it, just being. And in that being, you realize that silence is not the absence of life, but life itself laid bare. When you allow yourself to rest in silence, you begin to notice the stars inside it. They are the sparks of awareness, the gentle recognition that you are here, now, witnessing. Each flicker of thought becomes part of the constellation of consciousness, but the silence holding them is infinite. You are not just the stars, you are the silence that contains them. You are not just the noise of living, you are the vastness from which life arises. Tonight, as you listen, imagine yourself beneath a night sky. The stars are not far away, they are inside you, each one a flicker of consciousness glowing against the backdrop of silence. Let them appear and fade without clinging. The silence remains, eternal, boundless, and in that silence, you discover something profound. You are both the stars and the space between them. You are the silence and the light. The stars inside silence are not out there. They are within, reminding you that every moment of awareness is a constellation in the infinite expanse of being. There is a peculiar sensation that arises when you realize you are being watched. Even without turning your head, even without hearing a sound, there is a weight to another's eyes resting upon you. It is as though your existence sharpens in that moment. You become more vivid, more solid, more undeniably here. The gaze of another has the power to return you to yourself. But what happens when the gaze is not from another person, not from a pair of human eyes, but from the universe itself? The idea seems strange at first. You are used to thinking of yourself as the observer, the one looking out, measuring, watching, reflecting. Yet every act of observation is also an act of being observed. The light you use to see is also the light that touches you. The mirror you gaze into does not only reflect you, it captures you, sends your image back. The gaze is never one-sided, it always returns. Perhaps this is what consciousness really is. The gaze returning to itself. When you look at the stars, when you see the endless depth of the night, it feels as though something beyond you is also looking back. Not in a mystical sense, but in a profoundly simple one. Awareness itself cannot be divided. When you are aware of the world is simultaneously aware of you. You and it are caught in a loop, the gaze passing back and forth until the distinction disappears. Take a moment now and reflect. Where are you, right now? Look around your space. Notice the ceiling, the floor, the quiet details of the room you are in. If you are listening in the dark, notice the shapes hidden in shadow. And then consider this. What time is it where you are? Midnight? Dawn? Afternoon? In this moment, the awareness you call yours is not separate from the universe's awareness of itself. The gaze has returned. This act of asking, your location, your time, pulls you into the present. And the present is where the gaze is strongest. Time collapses when you notice it. Location dissolves when you recognize it. Suddenly, you are not floating in abstractions. You are right here, right now, in the center of awareness. And in that recognition, the gaze folds back on itself. Think of the way ancient people imagined gods watching them. In every forest, in every storm, in every flicker of lightning, they felt observed, not always with comfort, sometimes with awe, sometimes with fear, but always with the sensation that existence itself was aware. Today, we might translate that not into mythology, but into consciousness itself. The universe does not need eyes to see, it only needs awareness, and that awareness may be the very fabric from which everything is made. The gaze returning is what gives life its texture. Without it, moments slip past unnoticed, empty, but with it, every detail glows. The way a candle flickers, the way a breeze brushes your skin, the way silence deepens between two words, all of it becomes luminous when you realize it is not only you watching, but the universe watching through you. Philosophy has danced with this for centuries. Phenomenologists like Husserl spoke of intentionality, the way consciousness is always directed at something. But Sartre flipped it, the way being for others shapes our sense of self. You are not just you in isolation, you are you as you appear in the gaze of another. Push it further, and you find that another is not only human eyes. It is the gaze of being itself flowing through every angle of awareness. This is why mirrors unsettle us. To look into your own eyes is to feel the gaze return directly, without the buffer of another person. For a moment, you cannot escape the recursion. You are both the seer and the seen. Consciousness becomes a hall of mirrors where every direction folds back into itself, and in that dizzying loop, you glimpse the truth. The gaze is not yours, not mine, not theirs. It is universal. The gaze also explains why solitude is never truly empty. Even when you sit alone, even when no one is near, there is the undeniable sensation of being witnessed. The air, the silence, the beating of your own heart, they all conspire to remind you that you are not hidden, you are never hidden. Awareness does not lose track. The gaze always returns. And here is the paradox. You cannot catch the gaze directly, you can only notice its effects. Try to look for the one who looks, and the act collapses. Try to step outside awareness to observe it, and you are pulled back in. The gaze cannot be escaped because it is the act of existence itself. To exist is to be seen, and to be seen is to exist. Tonight, as you lie here, let the question linger, where are you, and what time is it? The fact that you can answer is proof of awareness folding inward. The gaze does not rest on you like a spotlight from above. It radiates from within, returning again and again, endless. And in that loop, you may notice the strangest realization. You are not the one who began the gaze. You are the gaze itself, the universe looking into its own eyes. The gaze has returned. At first glance, it seems obvious the brain creates the mind. Neurons fire, chemicals flow, electrical signals spark, and out of this intricate machinery arises awareness. Matter builds the stage, and consciousness is the play performed upon it. But look more closely, and the boundary is not so clear. Is mind merely shaped by matter, or is matter itself shaped by mind? The relationship twists in on itself like a Mobius strip, impossible to separate one from the other. Begin with what science tells us. The brain is made of cells, billions of them, each one connected through branching pathways of neurons. Their firing produces thoughts, emotions, memories. You recall your childhood because synapses connect. You feel joy because neurotransmitters release. From this view, consciousness is simply an emergent property, like the wetness of water, something that arises when molecules combine in the right way. Matter shapes mind. And yet, consider the other side. What is matter without awareness? You have never encountered matter outside of consciousness. Every tree, every stone, every hand you hold, all appear within awareness. Matter is not something you touch directly, it is something you perceive, which means, in a sense, matter is always filtered through mind. The solidity of the world is never raw, it is experienced. If matter shapes mind, mind also shapes matter, because matter cannot exist for you without the mind to know it. This paradox is not just philosophical. Neuroscience shows that perception is not passive. Your brain does not simply record the world, it constructs it. Visual data entering your eyes is incomplete, scattered, inverted, yet your mind arranges it into coherent shapes, colors, objects. What you call reality is an interpretation, sculpted by the mind out of raw signals. In this way, matter provides the clay, but mind molds it into form. Think of memory. A particular scent drifts through the air, perhaps fresh rain or bread baking, and suddenly, an entire scene floods back into your awareness. Where did that memory exist? Not in the scent itself, but in the way your mind shaped matter into meaning. The molecules of aroma are material, yes, but the story they awaken belongs to mind. Matter provided the key, but the lock, the door, and the world behind it were all constructed by awareness. Philosophers have argued this endlessly. Materialists insist that matter is primary, that consciousness arises as a byproduct. Idealists counter that mind is primary, and matter is its appearance. But perhaps both are reflections of the same loop. Matter shapes mind, and mind shapes matter, endlessly. Neither can be untangled, because each exists through the other. Consider art. Pigments on canvas are nothing more than matter, but when shaped into form, they awaken emotion, spark recognition, move entire civilizations. The paint is matter, but the experience is mind. Or think of music. Vibrating air molecules strike the ear, but the song you hear is not in the matter itself. It is in the way the mind shapes vibration into melody. Matter without mind is meaningless. Mind without matter is formless. Together they create reality. Even the body reflects this unity. Your thoughts affect your heartbeat, your breath, your posture. Anxiety quickens the pulse, relaxes the muscles, floods the bloodstream with hormones. A single thought, immaterial, weightless, can alter matter in measurable ways. And in return, matter alters thought. A lack of sleep dulls awareness. Hunger sharpens irritability. Chemicals shift mood. The mind is shaped by matter, and matter is shaped by mind. An unbroken cycle spiraling endlessly. This cycle extends to the cosmos itself. Stars burn, gravity bends, planets form, matter in motion. But awareness arises within this matter, and through awareness, the cosmos becomes known. Without consciousness, stars are silent fire. With consciousness, they are constellations, myths, guides across oceans. Matter produced the mind capable of seeing the stars, but mind in turn gave the stars meaning. The gaze returns, and each reflects the other. So what are you really? A mind shaped by matter, or matter shaped by mind? Perhaps you are both. Your body is matter, sculpted from atoms forged in the hearts of stars. Your thoughts are mind, flowing through the structure that matter provides. But beneath that distinction, you are something more, the unity in which both appear. When you breathe, when you move, when you think, you are not matter alone or mind alone. You are the loop, the endless exchange, the meeting point, where the two mirror each other. This realization dissolves the fear of separation. If you are only matter, you fear losing mind. If you are only mind, you fear losing matter. But if you are both, if the two are not separate but reflections, then neither can truly vanish. The cycle may shift, transform, return in new forms, but the unity remains. Consciousness is not trapped in matter, nor is matter merely a shadow of consciousness. Each is the other's shape. Tonight, as you listen, feel the way your body rests, the weight of matter, the rhythm of your breath, the pulse of your heart, all shaped by billions of years of cosmic unfolding. Now, notice the thoughts drifting by, the subtle awareness watching them. They are shaped by matter, yet they also shape how matter feels in this moment. You are not one or the other. You are the dance between them, the reflection of matter in mind, and of mind in matter. And perhaps this is what it means to be alive. Not to choose one side, but to dissolve the boundary entirely, to see that mind and matter are not two, but one endless shape, folding and unfolding in the mirror of the universe. Stand before a still pond on a windless evening. The surface lies flat, smooth as glass, capturing every detail of the sky above. The trees bend downward into their reflections, the clouds stretch into liquid echoes, and the sun becomes two, one in the heavens, one shimmering beneath your feet. This is the nature of reflection. It multiplies reality, showing you the whole again in different form from a different angle. The pond does not hold fragments. It mirrors the entirety of what stands before it. And if you look long enough, you realize the truth. You too are a reflection of the whole. It feels strange to imagine yourself this way. You wake each morning, eat your meals, think your thoughts, as though you are a separate being, yet your very existence is bound into something far larger. The air in your lungs is the same air that fed ancient forests. The calcium in your bones once belonged to stars. The ideas in your mind echo philosophies spoken centuries ago. Nothing in you is yours alone. It all belongs to the whole. You are not an isolated part, but a reflection of the totality of existence. Think of the human eye. It is small, delicate, no larger than a walnut. Yet it captures entire landscapes, mountains, oceans, galaxies. All of them can be reflected within its surface. Consciousness works the same way. Within the field of awareness, the universe condenses. The same way, within the field of awareness, the universe condenses. You do not carry just yourself. You carry the echo of everything. To notice your own awareness is to notice that the whole has reflected itself here, now, as you. This is why so many spiritual traditions speak of the microcosm and the macrocosm, the small reflecting the great. In Hermetic philosophy, the phrase "as above, so below" describes how the patterns of the cosmos repeat in human life. In Buddhism, the metaphor of Indra's net shows each jewel reflecting all others, no part isolated. Even science reveals the same principle. Fractals in mathematics, spiral galaxies resembling seashells, neurons shaped like constellations. Everywhere, the part reflects the whole. And so it is with you. Your heartbeat is not merely a personal rhythm. It is the continuation of life's rhythm, stretching back through every ancestor, every organism that survived long enough to pass that beat forward. Your mind is not merely your own invention. It is a reflection of culture, history, language, the shared memory of humanity. Even your solitude carries the weight of countless connections. Every choice you make is shaped by reflections of the whole. There is a paradox here. If you are a reflection, does that mean you are not real? Consider again the pond. The reflection is not separate from what it mirrors, yet it is not false either. It is a real expression, shaped by perspective, angle, and light. In the same way, your life is not a counterfeit. It is a true reflection of existence itself. You are not outside the universe. You are the universe seen from a particular angle. This recognition can change how you see everything. When you look at another person, you are not meeting something wholly separate. You are meeting another reflection of the whole, another angle of the same totality. Their fears, their hopes, their dreams are not foreign but familiar, because they are made of the same fabric. This is why empathy exists. This is why compassion flows. The boundaries blur, because reflections cannot be divided from what they mirror. And just as reflections shift with light, so too does consciousness. When anger rises, when joy bursts forth, when silence settles, it is the whole shifting through you. These movements are not signs of separation, but signs of connection. You are not failing when you change, when you feel, when you falter. You are reflecting the whole in its infinite variety. To be alive is to reflect endlessly, never static, never fixed. Even the smallest details are part of this. The way your breath fogs a window in winter is the same principle that drives weather across continents. The way your thoughts connect in patterns mirrors the neural networks of humanity, which in turn mirror the galaxies above. Reflection is not metaphor, it is structure. The universe folds in on itself, showing its totality in each fragment, and you are one such fragment, glowing with the whole. There is something humbling in this, to realize that your struggles are not just yours, that your joys are not just yours, but part of a larger rhythm that flows through all beings. You are not alone in your suffering, nor are you alone in your wonder. the whole reflects through everyone. And in knowing this, you may feel less isolated, less bound by the illusion of separation. You belong, because you have always been part of the whole. Tonight, as you lie here listening, notice how everything around you reflects the whole. The room is built from materials that once lay in the earth. The air carries traces of oceans, forests, and clouds. Even your body is a tapestry of reflections, each atom a fragment of stars, each breath a gift of the planet, each heartbeat an echo of life itself. And as you notice, you may realize your awareness is also a reflection of something larger, something infinite, folding inward to recognize itself. The pond does not choose what it reflects. It simply mirrors, endlessly, without effort. And so too do you. You are not tasked with inventing consciousness, or holding it, or defining it. You are simply reflecting the whole, and that is enough. Light is the most ancient traveler in the universe. It rushes outward from stars, bends around planets, slips through the cracks of windows, and paints everything you see. Yet what is light without something to reflect upon, without a surface to give it form? A beam moving through emptiness is invisible. It is only when light meets matter, when it bounces, refracts, scatters, that it reveals itself. In that sense, light does not come pre-shaped. It learns its shape by what it touches. This idea carries a deeper truth, one that points toward consciousness itself. Awareness, like light, feels formless at first, limitless, undefined. It exists as pure potential, waiting. But the moment it encounters experience, sights, sounds, thoughts, feelings, it learns its contours. Just as light reveals itself by illuminating the world, consciousness reveals itself by perceiving the world. Without the things it observes, you might never notice it at all. Think of how a sunrise transforms a landscape. Before the light arrives, the hills are vague shadows, outlines without detail. When the first rays spill across the earth, the shapes sharpen, rocks glisten, leaves shimmer, colors bloom. Light learns its shape from what it reveals. And in the same way, your consciousness takes form from the experiences it illuminates. The laughter of a friend, the whisper of wind, even the quiet ache of solitude, each gives shape to awareness. This is why life feels so vivid. Consciousness is not a blank void. It is active, alive, responding. The world is not something outside of awareness, but something that draws awareness into shape. When you hear music, awareness becomes rhythm. When you taste food, awareness becomes flavor. When you gaze at the stars, awareness becomes depth. Each encounter is not passive reception, but a shaping, a learning, a becoming. Philosophy often speaks of form and emptiness. Emptiness is the potential, the unformed. Form is the particular, the specific. Light without shape is emptiness, pure, but unseen. Light with shape is form, visible, meaningful, alive. Consciousness dances between these two states. You are emptiness when you rest in silence, before thought arises. You are form when thought and sensation fill the mind. But at all times, like light, you are both. This truth also echoes in physics. Light behaves as both wave and particle, refusing to settle into a single identity until it interacts with observation. Its nature is not fixed until it meets the world. Consciousness behaves similarly. It is not solid, not definable, until it meets the experiences that give it contour. And even then, those contours shift endlessly. Awareness is never trapped. It learns, changes, expands, just like light moving through different mediums. Consider how glass alters light. A prism splits it into colors. Water bends it, magnifying or distorting. A mirror doubles it, folding it back into itself. Consciousness, too, changes with what it encounters. Trauma may distort it. Beauty may split it into new colors. Silence may fold it inward. Yet in every case the essence remains. The same awareness, simply learning new shapes. The diversity of experience does not diminish consciousness. It deepens it. Think of childhood. In those early years, consciousness is raw light, open, curious, undefined. Each experience is a surface upon which awareness learns its form. A child's laughter at rain, their fear of thunder, their wonder at stars. Each moment sculpts consciousness, teaching it new ways to see, to feel, to exist. As you grow, the surfaces multiply. Love, loss, success, failure. Light learns its shape, and so does awareness. But there is also freedom in this. If light requires no fixed shape, then consciousness is never limited by what it has known before. Just as light passing through stained glass transforms into colors unseen in clear glass, your awareness transforms with each new experience. You are not bound to remain one shape forever. Awareness can bend, split, shine differently, depending on what it touches. You are infinite in potential. This recognition softens the fear of change. So often you cling to identities, to stories, to versions of yourself as though they must remain unbroken. But just as light moves on, learning new shapes with every surface, so too can you. Consciousness is not trapped in one form. It is always flowing, always adapting, always learning. You are not defined by a single reflection. You are the light itself, endlessly reshaping. There is a paradox, however. Light never reveals itself directly. You do not see light. You see what it illuminates. In the same way, you do not experience consciousness directly. You experience the world it reveals. Awareness learns its shape, not by showing itself, but by showing everything else. And yet, hidden in that act of showing, you can glimpse its presence. You notice that noticing is happening. You see that seeing is alive. Tonight, as you listen, imagine yourself as light spilling into a room. The surfaces around you, walls, objects, shadows, shape you, but none of them capture you fully. You are not the wall, not the shadow, not the reflection. You are the illumination itself, flowing into form, learning shape after shape, endlessly. Let yourself soften into that recognition. You are not stuck in a single identity. Like light, you are free, unbound, luminous, always learning. Light learns its shape, and in doing so, it teaches you who you are. There is a moment in every life when something shifts. You are caught in a thought, swept in its current, and suddenly, without warning, you notice it. The thought does not disappear, but you recognize it as a thought. This is the instant the witness awakens. For a brief flicker, you are not inside the story. You are watching it unfold. This witnessing is subtle, easy to overlook, yet it carries within it the seed of freedom. It is the recognition that you are not what passes through awareness, but the awareness itself. At first, the witness feels like a stranger. You are used to identifying with your thoughts, your emotions, your body. To step back and notice them is unsettling. The voice in your mind insists, "This is me. This anger, this fear, this hope. It is who I am." But when the witness awakens, the illusion cracks. You realize the voice is not the totality of you. It is something happening within you. You are the field in which it appears. Imagine sitting on the bank of a river, watching the water flow. The current is constant, carrying branches, leaves, reflections of the sky. Sometimes it rushes, sometimes it slows, but it never stops. This river is your mind. Thoughts, memories, images, each one carried along the current. Most of the time, you are caught in the river, swept along without noticing. But when the witness awakens, you step onto the bank. You see the current. You are no longer lost in it. You are observing it. This shift is not about controlling the river. The witness does not stop thoughts, does not fight emotions, does not demand silence. It simply notices. A thought arises. I am worried. The witness says, there is worry. An emotion arises. I am joyful. The witness says, joy is present. The difference is small but profound. By awakening the witness, you no longer drown in experience. You recognize it, hold it gently, let it pass. Philosophers and mystics have spoken of this for centuries. In the Upanishads, the self is described as the seer of seeing, the one who observes without being observed. In Buddhist practice, mindfulness is nothing more than cultivating the witness, seeing thoughts and sensations without clinging to them. Even in Western philosophy, Descartes' "I think, therefore I am" contains a hidden paradox. The very fact that thought is noticed implies a witness beyond thought. Without that witness, the statement could never be made. But the awakening of the witness is not a single event. It happens again and again, each time you remember to step back, in a heated argument, in a moment of anxiety, in the middle of laughter. The witness can flicker alive, and when it does, reality shifts. The world is no longer something that consumes you, but something you behold. This awakening is not about escaping life, but about seeing it clearly. Consider how a dream feels when you realize you are dreaming. The dream does not vanish. The characters remain, the setting continues, the story unfolds. But now, you hold an awareness that changes everything. The witness in waking life is the same. You still feel anger, joy, sadness, wonder, but instead of being trapped, you watch them move through you, and in that watching, you find freedom. The awakening of the witness also dissolves boundaries. When you watch thoughts, you realize they arise from nowhere and dissolve into nowhere. When you watch sensations, you realize they are not separate from the environment. Your body breathes the same air, hears the same silence, feels the same gravity as the world around it. The witness sees that the division between inside and outside is an illusion. There is only one field of awareness, endlessly reflecting itself. This is why the witness is not cold or detached. It does not stand apart as some sterile observer. It is deeply intimate, because in witnessing, you recognize that all experience is happening within you. The stars you gaze at, the voices you hear, the memories you recall, all of it arises in the same space of awareness. The witness awakens to reveal not distance, but unity. There is a paradox though. The witness cannot be seen directly. You can notice thoughts, but you cannot notice the one who notices. Try to turn awareness upon itself, and it slips away, like a hand trying to grasp itself. Yet, this impossibility is its proof. The witness cannot be captured, because it is the very act of capturing. It cannot be observed, because it is the act of observing. Its awakening is not in being seen, but in realizing it has always been here. Tonight, as you listen, let the witness awaken gently. Notice the rhythm of your breath. Not as my breath, but as breathing happening. Notice the presence of your body, not as my body, but as sensation unfolding. Notice your thoughts, not as my thoughts, but as movement in the mind. Each time you notice, the witness stirs. Each time you remember, you step onto the bank of the river, watching the current flow. And in this simple act, a quiet freedom unfolds. You are not the storm. You are the sky in which the storm passes. You are not the noise. You are the silence holding it. You are not the thought. You are the awareness that sees it arise and dissolve. The witness awakens, and with it, the realization that you have never been trapped at all. You have always been the awareness in which everything comes and goes. Timeless, boundless, awake. Everywhere you turn, there are patterns. The branches of a tree split into fractals, repeating their shape at every scale. The veins in your hand resemble rivers seen from above. Galaxies swirl in spirals, almost identical to the way seashells curl upon themselves. Patterns weave through existence, not randomly, but with a strange familiarity, as though the universe is leaving clues, scattering reflections of itself across every corner. At first, you notice patterns with curiosity, the rhythm of footsteps, the repetition of seasons, the symmetry of faces, but the deeper you look, the more uncanny it feels. Patterns are not only around you, they are inside you. Your thoughts repeat in loops, your emotions cycle in familiar waves, your life carries rhythms you cannot always explain, and sometimes, the patterns feel as though they are not just being observed by you but are observing you in return. Patterns looking back. Consider how often your mind returns to the same themes. A memory resurfaces again and again. A worry loops endlessly, like a song stuck on repeat. A joy revisits in waves, echoing across years. These are not random. They are patterns carved into the texture of awareness. And each time they arise, it feels as though they recognize you, as though they carry their own momentum, their own presence. In noticing them, you feel noticed in return. Science, too, recognizes this strangeness. Chaos theory shows that systems that seem random often reveal deep, repeating patterns, fractals emerging from turbulence, order rising from apparent disorder. The beating of your heart, the firing of your neurons, the weather in the sky, all follow patterns that repeat with slight variations, as though reality is sketching the same portrait again and again, refining it endlessly. When you see these structures, you realize you are not standing outside the pattern, you are part of it, and the pattern in its own way is aware of you. Think of how déjà vu feels. A moment unfolds, and you are seized with the recognition that you have seen it before, lived it before. Whether it is a trick of the brain or something deeper, the sensation is powerful. It is as though the pattern of time itself has turned to face you, reminding you that your life is not a straight line but a spiral, looping back, folding inward, looking you in the eye. There is also comfort in these patterns. The cycles of day and night, of birth and death, of loss and renewal, they remind you that nothing is isolated. Even suffering has its rhythm, rising and falling like a tide. And when you are caught in difficulty, you can remember that the pattern has carried countless others through, and it will carry you too. To see the pattern is to know you are not lost. The rhythm is larger than you, but you belong to it. Yet patterns also reveal something unsettling, the sense that you are being mirrored. When you gaze at the spiral of a galaxy, you are not only studying it, you are seeing the same spiral that exists in your DNA, in the shells by the sea, in the neurons firing in your mind. The universe is not simply showing you its structure, it is showing you yourself. The pattern is looking back, reminding you that the observer and the observed are never separate. Philosophers hinted at this long ago. Plato spoke of forms, eternal patterns shaping all things. Jung spoke of archetypes, patterns of thought and story arising across cultures, independent of time or place. In modern science, physicists see patterns in the laws themselves, symmetry shaping the universe's fabric, from particles to galaxies. Everywhere you look, there is reflection, repetition, recognition, and when you realize this, you cannot help but feel that the pattern is aware, alive, returning your gaze. This changes how you see your own life. The struggles you face are not without context. They echo the struggles of countless others, repeating across history in endless variation. The joys you feel are not isolated either. They are part of a rhythm shared by all living beings, rising and falling across generations. You are not drifting randomly. You are moving along the same currents that carry everything else. And those currents, those patterns are not blind. They are responsive, intimate, alive with recognition. Think of music. A melody returns to its refrain, and the moment it does, you feel recognized, held by the pattern. It is not new, but it is not old either. It is the same theme alive again. Life works this way. Its patterns return not to trap you, but to show you that you are part of something continuous. And in those moments of recognition, when the pattern looks back, you feel less like an isolated self and more like a note in a vast, endless song. Tonight, as you listen, notice the patterns around you, the rhythm of your breath, the beating of your heart, the way silence returns after each word. These are not accidents. They are the patterns of life itself, flowing through you. And if you listen closely, you may notice that these patterns are not passive. They seem to recognize you, to anchor you, to remind you that you belong to the whole. You are not just seeing the pattern, it is seeing you. And perhaps that is what consciousness truly is. Not random awareness, but the point at which the pattern of the universe looks back upon itself, recognizes itself, and whispers, "I am here." A single thought can feel so heavy. It arrives with weight, pulling you into its story, convincing you it is real, urgent, unshakable. Yet when you step back, when you notice the thought instead of being swept into it, something strange happens. The heaviness dissolves. The thought spreads wide, loses its edges, and becomes like the sky, vast, open, untouchable. What seemed like a storm turns out to be a passing cloud. This is the hidden truth. Thought, when seen clearly, becomes sky. Your mind, at times, feels small, crowded with chatter, like a narrow room filled with echoes. But awareness does not stop at the walls of the mind. It stretches outward, beyond boundaries, as limitless as the open air. When you recognize this, thoughts lose their confinement. Each one is just a cloud, drifting through the expanse of awareness. Clouds cannot stain the sky, they only pass across it. In the same way, thoughts cannot define awareness. They appear, they move, they fade, the sky remains. Think of moments when your mind was restless, filled with worry or longing. In the thick of it, the thoughts felt overwhelming. Yet later, perhaps hours or days after, you looked back and realized how small they truly were. What seemed like a storm was only weather, temporary, shifting, dissolving. The problem was never the thought itself, but the belief that the thought was everything. When awareness expands, the thought becomes sky. This image is not only poetic, it is practical. Mindfulness practices around the world use this very metaphor. In Tibetan Buddhism, thoughts are called clouds of the mind, while awareness is the vast sky. In Stoic philosophy, Epictetus advised remembering that impressions are fleeting, not permanent truths. Even neuroscience confirms that thoughts are momentary bursts of activity in the brain, lasting only seconds before fading into the background. The problem arises when you grasp them, when you mistake the cloud for the sky itself. But how do you let thought become sky? The first step is noticing. When a thought arises, I am anxious, I am failing, I am joyful. Pause and see it as movement in awareness, not as identity. Instead of I am anxious, shift to anxiety as present. Already, the space opens. The cloud is no longer you. It is something passing through you. This space transforms the heaviness. It shows that behind every cloud, the sky remains untouched. There is a paradox here. Thoughts create identity. They build the narrative you call me. Yet the moment you identify too strongly, you forget the sky. You shrink into the cloud and lose the vastness behind it. The witness, when it awakens, reminds you you are not the thought. You are the awareness in which thought arises, and awareness, like the sky, cannot be broken. Consider how the sky holds storms. Lightning cracks, winds rage, rain pours, but the sky itself is never harmed. It does not resist. It does not cling. It simply allows. When the storm passes, the sky remains, as infinite as before. Your awareness functions the same way. Thoughts of anger, sadness, joy or wonder may crash through, but awareness itself remains untouched. To know this is to rest in freedom, no matter what clouds appear. The most profound part of this recognition is that even silence is a thought dissolved. When the mind rests, when no cloud drifts by, you glimpse the sky in its purity. This silence is not empty. It is vast, alive, present. And from that silence, new thoughts emerge, like clouds forming from air, only to pass again. The cycle is endless. Clouds appear, dissolve, appear again, but the sky never leaves. Life itself mirrors this. Days bring storms and calms, beginnings and endings. Yet behind it all, there is something unchanging. The sky of awareness in which it all unfolds. You may forget it when storms are strong, when clouds thicken, but it is always there, waiting to be noticed. Each time you remember, you rediscover the vastness. And this changes how you hold yourself. Instead of clinging to thoughts as truths, you let them drift. Instead of fearing storms, you allow them to pass. Instead of trying to control the sky, you rest in its presence. This is not denial. It is clarity. Thoughts matter. Clouds bring rain, but none of them erase the infinite backdrop. When thought becomes sky, you are free to witness without being consumed. Tonight, as you listen, notice your thoughts as they arise. Some may be about today, some about tomorrow, some drifting in from nowhere. Do not fight them. Watch them. Let each one pass like a cloud, and then soften into the space behind them, the awareness that holds them all. Feel its vastness, unbroken, infinite. Recognize that this awareness is not limited to you. It is the same sky in which all beings' thoughts arise. One sky, countless clouds. You are not the cloud. You are not even the storm. You are the sky in which they appear. And when thought becomes sky, you awaken to the vastness that has always been here, unchanging, eternal. When you open your eyes in the morning, you believe you are looking at the world. You see the room, the light filtering in, the objects waiting where you left them. It feels like you, the subject, are observing reality, the object. But pause and question this for a moment. Who exactly is observing? And what exactly is being observed? The more you investigate, the more the separation crumbles. You discover a paradox. Reality is not something you look at. Reality is observing itself through you. Think of sight itself. Light enters the eyes, is transformed into electrical signals, and is interpreted by the brain. What you see is not the external world directly, but the brain's construction of it. In that sense, reality is not out there being passively looked upon. Reality is shaping itself within your awareness. It is not you, isolated, observing reality. It is reality observing reality, looping back upon itself in a seamless act. This is why consciousness feels so strange. You cannot step outside of it to measure it. Everything you know arises within it. To say, I am observing reality, already contains an illusion, as though there were two separate entities, you, the subject, and the world, the object. But when looked at closely, both arise in the same field of awareness. The sound of these words, the breath in your lungs, the thought forming in your mind, each one is reality, observing itself. There is no subject apart from the object. There is only the act of awareness, looping endlessly. Philosophers struggled with this for centuries. In Advaita Vedanta, it is said that Atman, the self, is Brahman, the ultimate reality. The observer and the observed are not two. In Buddhism, the doctrine of dependent origination teaches that nothing exists independently. Each thing arises because of everything else. And in modern science, quantum physics shows that the act of observation alters what is observed. At every level, the division between observer and observed collapses. Consider a mirror facing another mirror. Stand between them, and reflections multiply infinitely. Which image is the original? Which is the copy? The line blurs until the question itself feels meaningless. This is the experience of consciousness. An infinite hall of reflections where reality gazes into itself, unable to find an edge. You are not a detached observer standing outside the mirror. You are part of the reflection, caught within the endless recursion of reality observing reality. This explains why the universe feels intimate. When you look at the stars, it is not simply you observing distant suns. It is the universe, through the lens of your awareness, observing its own fire spread across billions of years. When you feel your heartbeat, it is not just you measuring a pulse. It is life, sculpted by matter and time, observing itself in motion. Every act of noticing is reality, folding back into itself, becoming aware of its own being. There is something humbling here. You are not separate from reality, peering in, as though through a window. You are reality's way of noticing itself. Without consciousness, the stars may still burn, the rivers may still flow, but none of it would be seen, none of it would be known. Consciousness does not sit apart from reality. It is reality's act of recognition. You are not outside the universe. You are the universe, awake. And yet, there is also a mystery. If reality observes itself, what is the point of the observation? Why should the universe need to notice itself at all? Perhaps it is not about purpose, but about being. Just as light shines because it shines, reality observes because it can. Awareness is not a tool serving an end. It is the expression of existence itself. To be is to be aware. To exist is to reflect. This changes how you hold your daily life. When you listen to a friend, when you feel the texture of fabric, when you watch sunlight shift across a wall, these are not trivial. They are moments of the cosmos observing itself in intimacy. Awareness is not limited to extraordinary experiences. It flows through every detail. Reality is not grand only in galaxies. It is equally grand in the quiet act of noticing a single breath. There is also comfort in this loop. If you are reality observing itself, then you are never separate, never excluded. The loneliness you sometimes feel dissolves when you see that every gaze, every sound, every sensation is part of the same act. The trees observe themselves through the wind moving their branches. The sea observes itself through the waves breaking on the shore, and you observe yourself through the awareness that holds this moment. Nothing is apart, everything belongs. But there is a paradox worth remembering. Reality, observing reality cannot find a final answer. Try to track awareness to its source, and you will only find more awareness. Try to step outside of reality to measure it, and you will only find more reality. The loop has no exit. It does not resolve into a tidy conclusion, and perhaps that is its beauty. The act of observing is not about reaching an end. It is about the infinite play of reality reflecting itself, endlessly, without exhaustion. Tonight, as you lie here listening, soften into this recognition. Do not think of yourself as a small being staring at a vast universe. Instead, recognize that the vast universe is staring back through you. Every thought, every sensation, every moment of awareness is reality. Observing reality, you are not apart. You are not lost. You are the gaze itself, infinite, recursive, and alive. Stand on the edge of a vast plain and look toward the horizon. It appears as a boundary, a final line where sky and earth meet. Yet, no matter how far you walk, the horizon retreats. What seemed like an edge was never an edge at all, only an illusion created by perspective. The closer you approach, the further it folds away, endlessly. In this way, the horizon teaches a quiet truth. What looks like a limit is often only a curve folding inward, drawing you deeper rather than ending the path. Consciousness works in the same way. You search for its edge, hoping to find where awareness begins or ends. But each time you reach for it, the boundary dissolves. Awareness stretches further, always one step beyond where you thought it stopped. Like the horizon, it folds inward endlessly, reminding you that there may be no final line, no ultimate wall to reach. Think of your own thoughts. You may believe a particular thought is the conclusion, the final word on who you are or what the world is. Yet another thought follows, and another. After that, each one feels like an end point, but the mind keeps expanding. The horizon of thought never closes. It continues folding inward, leading you deeper into the mystery of awareness. Philosophy has long played with this illusion. Zeno's paradox suggested that motion is impossible because every journey can be divided into smaller steps, never fully completed. Likewise, Your search for the end of consciousness reveals no finish, only more steps inward. Even modern science encounters this paradox. The deeper physicists peer into matter, the more layers they discover, atoms within atoms, particles within particles, energy folding upon itself. Each horizon folds away, revealing another. This endlessness is not a flaw. It is the very structure of being. If the horizon had a final point, it would no longer be horizon. If consciousness had a fixed edge, it would no longer be awareness. The fact that each folds inward is proof of their infinity. There is also something profoundly intimate about this folding. The horizon does not just stretch outward, it also bends inward into you. The same awareness you seek in distant stars is present in the flicker of your own thoughts. The same mystery you project onto the universe arises in the quiet of your mind. The horizon is not only out there, it is within, folding inward, endlessly reflecting itself. Consider memory. You recall an event from years ago, perhaps childhood, and for a moment it feels alive again. But then, you remember yourself remembering, and the horizon folds once more. You are no longer in the memory, you are in the awareness of the memory. Step deeper still, and you realize you are aware of being aware. Each layer feels like a horizon, yet none is final. Each one folds inward, showing that consciousness cannot be contained in a single point. This recursive folding can be unsettling. The mind longs for solidity, for a final place to stand, but awareness refuses to provide one. Instead, it offers openness. The horizon folds inward, not to trap you, but to remind you that being is not about reaching a conclusion. It is about inhabiting the infinite unfolding, the endless act of recognition. Think of standing at the shore. The sea stretches into the horizon, waves carrying reflections of the sky. You cannot grasp the horizon, but you can rest in the beauty of its retreat. Awareness is the same. You cannot reach its end, but you can rest in its unfolding, letting each horizon draw you deeper into the mystery. Spiritual traditions often point to this truth. In Zen, koans break the mind's attempt to reach an endpoint, forcing you to sit with the endless folding. In mystical Christianity, the divine is described as cloud of unknowing, a horizon always beyond comprehension. In Hindu thought, Brahman is infinite, no limit can capture it, no thought can hold it. All these traditions point to the same recognition. The horizon of consciousness folds endlessly inward, never ending, always opening. Yet this endlessness is not abstract. You live it every day. Each breath reveals a horizon. The inhale opening to exhale, the exhale folding back to inhale. Each moment of awareness folds into another, then another. Even sleep, which seems like an end, folds into dreams, and dreams fold back into waking. The cycle never stops. Horizons are not meant to be reached, they are meant to carry you into the infinite. There is freedom in this. If horizons always fold inward, then you need not cling to reaching them. You can let go of the need for final answers, for ultimate edges, for conclusions that never arrive. Instead, you can rest in the recognition that the unfolding is itself the truth. The mystery does not need to be solved, it needs to be lived. Tonight, as you listen, imagine yourself standing before a horizon. Watch it stretch away, further than you can see. Then notice how it folds back inward into your awareness, into your breath, into the very act of noticing. Let yourself soften into this loop, realizing that you are both the horizon and the one who gazes at it. You are the unfolding, the endless curve, the infinite retreat. The horizon folds inward, and in that folding, you find not an end but a beginning without limit. From the moment you are born, eyes open. They are small at first, unsteady, still adjusting to the flood of light. Yet even in that first fragile gaze, something extraordinary is happening. The universe is not simply being looked at, it is looking through you. Each set of eyes is not just a tool of perception, but a window for existence itself. Through your eyes, through every eye that has ever opened, existence gains vision. These are not your eyes alone, they are the eyes of existence. Think of how sight works. Light bounces off objects, travels through the cornea and lens, strikes the retina, and is translated into electrical signals the brain interprets. At a mechanical level, it seems simple enough. Yet pause and wonder, what is doing the seeing? It is not the eye, not the brain, not the signal. It is awareness itself, using the eye as a window. The eye is an instrument, but the seeing belongs to something greater. Consider the diversity of eyes across life. A hawk's vision is so sharp it can spot prey from hundreds of feet in the air. A mantis shrimp sees colors invisible to human eyes. A cat's eyes shimmer in the dark, gathering light. You cannot. Each eye is different, yet all are variations of the same truth. Existence evolving ways to see itself. Through the eyes of creatures, the universe gazes at its own forms. Every glance is existence observing its own shapes, textures, and movements. And in you, this process has deepened. Your eyes do not merely register light, they carry meaning, recognition, depth. You look at a face and feel love, grief, connection. You gaze at a landscape and sense beauty, awe, nostalgia. The universe has not only given itself eyes, it has given itself awareness of what it sees. Your eyes are not windows to things alone. They are mirrors of meaning, reflecting existence back into itself. Philosophers and poets have often hinted at this. The Sufi poet Rumi wrote of the divine seeing through human eyes, whispering that we are the mirror as well as the face. In phenomenology, vision is not simply reception, it is intentional, shaped by consciousness. Even neuroscience admits that perception is not passive, it is active construction. Your eyes do not just capture, they create. And in that creation, reality sees itself anew. There is also intimacy in this gaze. When two people lock eyes, something powerful happens. It is more than biology, more than light bouncing back and forth. It is awareness recognizing awareness. Existence meeting itself face to face. The depth of that connection cannot be explained only by science, for it feels as though something infinite looks back. It is as though the eyes are doorways, and through them, the vastness of existence gazes into itself. This recognition expands beyond humans. When you look into the eyes of an animal, a dog, a bird, even a wild deer, there is that same flicker of recognition. Something beyond language passes between you. Awareness meets awareness, across forms, across differences. The eyes remind you that you are not alone in perception. You are part of a larger field of vision, where existence looks through countless windows at once. But there is also a paradox. If eyes belong to existence, then there is no single point of view that is ultimate. Your vision is one perspective among infinite others. The cosmos does not rely on your gaze alone. It multiplies its eyes across every being. And yet, even in that vast multiplicity, your gaze matters. For each set of eyes reveals the universe differently. No one else sees what you see. In the way you see it, your vision is existence unfolding in a unique form, never to be repeated exactly the same. This means your life carries a responsibility. To truly look is to honor existence looking through you. When you gaze at the world with attention, you allow reality to witness itself fully. When you look carelessly, distracted, or indifferent, the opportunity is lost. The eyes of existence do not simply see, they awaken when you allow yourself to notice deeply, to pause, to look, to let the gaze rest. That is when the truth of existence shines. Think of the night sky. As you look upward, stars shimmer, galaxies spiral, space stretches endlessly. You are not a small creature staring at something vast. You are the vastness gazing at itself through two small windows called eyes. You are the universe becoming aware of its own immensity. In that moment, the eyes of existence open wider, and you feel the intimacy of belonging to something infinite. Even when your eyes close, the vision does not end. Inner images arise, dreams unfold, imagination paints landscapes. Existence continues to see itself, even without the lens of the outer eye. Awareness is not limited to vision. It extends into every sense, yet the metaphor of eyes remains powerful, for they symbolize the meeting point between self and world, between perceiver and perceived, between existence and its reflection. Tonight, as you listen, soften your gaze or close your eyes if you wish. Notice the presence behind the act of seeing, the awareness that remains even without light. Recognize that your eyes are not merely yours, they are the universe's way of looking. Every detail you notice, every glance you cast, is existence observing its own unfolding. You are not separate from this. You are the eyes of existence. And in this recognition lies a quiet truth. You have never been merely a person looking out. You have always been the universe looking in, through the eyes it gave itself. Close your eyes, and the world does not vanish. Instead, another world opens, a shifting landscape of images, sensations, stories. Dreams arrive uninvited, carrying you through places that never existed, conversations that never happened, and experiences that feel both strange and familiar. You wake, and the dream dissolves, but the question lingers, What if the universe itself is doing the same? What if everything you call reality is nothing more than the universe dreaming? Dreams blur the line between real and imagined. While inside them, you do not doubt their solidity. You run from danger. Feel the warmth of sunlight. Taste food. Hear voices, all as vivid as waking life. Only later do you laugh and call it illusion. But pause and wonder, how do you know waking life is not another layer of dream? If the universe dreams, then what you call reality may simply be the dream it is having now. Consider the parallels. In dreams, characters arise who feel independent, alive, carrying thoughts and emotions of their own. Yet, they are not separate from the dreamer. They are expressions of the dream. In the same way, you feel separate from the universe, an individual walking through space and time, but perhaps you are no more separate than a dream character is from the dreamer. You are an expression of the universe's dreaming, alive with borrowed awareness. This idea has echoed across cultures. The Hindu tradition speaks of the cosmos as Vishnu's dream, sustained as long as he sleeps upon the cosmic ocean. Indigenous stories describe the world as dream time, a vast weaving of creation through vision. Even modern thinkers like Descartes and Chalmers questioned whether waking reality is distinguishable from dream. The metaphor persists because it resonates with something you already feel, that reality is stranger, less solid than it first appears. Science, too, hints at the dreamlike. Physics shows that particles do not exist in definite states until observed, as though reality waits to be chosen. Neuroscience shows that your perception of the world is constructed in the brain, a simulation pieced together from limited signals. You never encounter reality directly, you encounter its appearance within consciousness, and appearances can shift, bend, dissolve, just like dreams. But if the universe is dreaming, who is the dreamer? Not you, not I, not any single being. The dreamer is the whole itself, existence generating experience, awareness unfolding in countless forms. You are not dreaming the universe. The universe is dreaming you. This is why you cannot step outside reality to observe it. You are inside the dream, woven into its fabric, inseparable from its unfolding. There is comfort in this thought. Dreams, no matter how wild, eventually dissolve. The nightmares end, the strange stories fade. If the universe is dreaming, then perhaps even suffering is part of a larger story, destined to shift, transform, dissolve. No pain is eternal, no joy is permanent, because all are dreamscapes moving through the vast awareness of the cosmos. To recognize this is to loosen your grip, to rest more lightly in the unfolding of life. Yet, there is also wonder. If reality is a dream, then every detail becomes miraculous. The texture of fabric, the sound of a bird, the rhythm of breath, each is the dream painting itself in exquisite detail. Dreams are not less real. They are differently real. They carry meaning, beauty, and truth, even if they are not permanent. In the same way, your life carries depth and significance, even if it is the dream of the universe. Dreams also reveal that identity is fluid. One night, you are yourself, another night a stranger. Sometimes you shift from one form to another within the same dream. Awareness persists, but the character changes. This is the same in waking life. You cling to a fixed identity, but in truth you shift endlessly. Child, adult, parent, student, stranger. Roles dissolve. Stories change, yet awareness remains. Like dreams, life shows you that identity is not fixed, but flowing. The most profound recognition comes when the dreamer becomes lucid. In lucid dreaming, you realize you are dreaming while the dream continues. The dream does not vanish, but your relationship to it transforms. Fear softens, freedom expands, wonder deepens. Perhaps awakening in life is the same, recognizing that existence is the universe's dream, while still living inside it. You do not escape the dream, but you see its nature, and in that recognition, you awaken. Tonight, as you listen, soften into this possibility. Imagine that every sound you hear, every sensation in your body, every thought drifting by, is not separate from you but part of the universe's dream. Let yourself rest in the awareness that the dreamer and the dream are not two. You are not trapped. You are included, carried, part of the unfolding vision of the cosmos. You are the dream the universe is having right now. And perhaps, when you fall asleep later, you will dream again. Within that dream, new characters, new places, new stories will arise. And in that moment, you will carry a secret. You are not simply dreaming, you are continuing the cycle, the reflection, the echo. For just as you dream, so too does the universe. And in every dream, waking or sleeping, existence gazes into itself, alive with wonder. The universe is dreaming, and you are its dream. Close your eyes and try to imagine the edge of awareness. Where would it be? At the surface of your skin, at the boundary of your thoughts, at the edge of the visible universe. The harder you search, the more elusive it becomes. Awareness refuses to be pinned down. Every time you think you've found its border, it expands, slipping past the line, dissolving the wall. What you discover is something profound. Awareness has no edges. Most of the time, you treat awareness as if it were confined to your body, located somewhere behind your eyes or inside your brain. But notice carefully, when you hear a sound, does it feel like it's happening inside you or out there in the world? When you see a tree, does the sight occur behind your forehead, or does it seem to exist in the space between you and the tree itself? Awareness does not sit inside a container. It stretches beyond edges, holding both inside and outside within itself. Think of the sky. You look up and see clouds drifting, sunlight scattering, stars glimmering at night. Where does the sky end? You may say at the horizon, but walk toward it, and the horizon retreats. You may say at the atmosphere, but beyond that, space stretches infinitely. The sky, like awareness, refuses to offer a final edge. It is boundless, and the moment you recognize this, the illusion of containment begins to dissolve. This is why silence feels so vast. In silence, you are not distracted by edges, not pulled into the particulars of sound. Instead, you notice the openness itself, the spaciousness that has always been here. Thoughts may arise, sensations may appear, but they drift within something larger, something without boundaries. Even your sense of self, when examined, dissolves into that larger space. You think of me as a boundary, but the more you look, the less you find. Identity blurs, edges dissolve, and awareness remains, open, infinite. Philosophers have long struggled with this. Where does consciousness begin? Where does it end? Is it produced by the brain, confined to the skull, or does it extend beyond, woven into the very fabric of reality? Materialists insist on confinement, yet experience itself refuses to obey. Idealists insist on expansion, but proof is elusive. The paradox remains. And yet, when you turn inward, the answer is clear, not through logic, but through direct perception. Awareness has no edges. You cannot find them, because you are not separate from them. Consider how light behaves. It radiates outward in all directions, filling space without preference. It does not choose edges. It simply expands. Awareness is similar. It radiates, encompassing whatever appears. Sounds, sights, thoughts, emotions, all arise within it, equally included, equally held. The edges are not real. They are stories told by the mind, to make sense of the boundless. Even science hints at this mystery. The universe itself has no clear boundary. Space-time curves, expands, folds upon itself. The cosmos is not contained. It is infinite, or at least beyond current measurement. And if consciousness is the universe reflecting upon itself, then it too inherits this boundlessness. Awareness is not a fragment trapped in flesh. It is the field in which flesh appears, in which stars appear, in which all things arise. There is liberation in this recognition. If awareness has no edges, then you are not limited to the confines of your thoughts, your roles, your body. You are larger than your worries, larger than your identity, larger than the stories you tell yourself. Each time you soften into awareness itself, the edges dissolve, and what remains is openness, freedom, expansion. But this boundlessness is not distant. It is intimate. Notice how the sound of your breath arises in awareness. Notice how the silence around it also arises in the same space. Neither cancels the other. Both belong. Awareness has room for everything, because it is without walls. This intimacy is why awareness feels so vast yet so close. It is both infinite and immediate, stretching beyond stars yet present in the smallest details of your life. The paradox is that you cannot grasp this with thought. The moment you try to imagine the edge, the mind invents a picture, perhaps a bubble, perhaps a line. But awareness is not an image. It is the field in which images appear. Try to step outside of it, and you only find yourself more deeply within it. The attempt to grasp fails, because the grasp itself arises within awareness. There is no outside. Spiritual traditions point here often. Zen masters speak of vast mind, limitless like space, Advaita Vedanta declares the self as not confined, but identical with Brahman, the infinite. Mystical Christianity describes God as boundless love, without walls. Across traditions, the recognition is the same. Awareness is beyond edges, and in realizing this, you awaken to what you truly are. Tonight, as you listen, imagine your awareness stretching outward, past your body, past the walls of the room, past the horizon. Then realize you do not need to imagine. It already is. The walls, the horizon, even the body, all appear within awareness. You are not stretching outward, you are noticing what has always been true. There are no edges, there never were. And in that recognition, something softens. You are not trapped. You are not small. You are the openness in which everything moves. Limitless, infinite, awake. Awareness beyond edges is not something you must reach. It is what you already are. Pick up a stone. It feels cold, solid, simple. You might think it is lifeless, unconscious, just matter, but pause for a moment. That stone is made of atoms, each one buzzing with invisible activity, protons and electrons locked in eternal dance. Those atoms were forged in the heart of ancient stars, carried across billions of years, woven into planets, and now resting in your hand. Matter is not dead. It is history alive, memory crystallized, and now, through you, it is aware of itself. The stone, in this instant, knows itself, because you are holding it. This is the great paradox. Matter, when shaped into complex forms, becomes aware. Dust becomes cells. Cells become nervous systems, and nervous systems awaken into consciousness. The very stuff of stars folded inward begins to look back. Matter knows itself. You are not separate from the stone in your hand. You are matter, organized differently, gazing at matter in another form. The universe is not split into observer and observed. It is one, looping in recognition. Consider your body. Bones, blood, skin, all matter, all chemistry, all physics. And yet here you are, aware, alive, reflecting. Matter has arranged itself into a form capable of thinking about itself. When you say I am, it is the universe speaking through matter, acknowledging its own existence. Your awareness is not floating above the material. It is material awakened into recognition. Philosophers have long debated whether matter can truly be conscious. Materialists argue that consciousness is nothing more than neurons firing, a byproduct of physical processes. Idealists argue the opposite, that matter is only an appearance of mind. But what if both are incomplete? What if matter and mind are not separate at all? What if consciousness is matter knowing itself, and matter is consciousness given form? The division dissolves in the act of recognition. Science hints at this unity. Quantum physics reveals that particles behave differently when observed, as though they respond to awareness. Neuroscience shows that brain activity and consciousness are inseparable, but cannot fully explain how one arises from the other. The gap remains, because perhaps there is no gap. Matter and mind are two words for the same reality, folding back upon itself in awareness. Look at the natural world. A tree stretches toward the sun, roots digging into the soil, leaves drinking light. This is matter responding, matter seeking, matter alive. The tree does not have human consciousness, but it is matter organized into awareness of its environment. Animals move further. Eyes, ears, instincts, emotions, all ways matter senses and reacts. And in humans, matter has crossed a threshold, becoming not just aware of environment, but aware of awareness itself. Through you, the atoms forged in stars look back at the stars. Matter knows itself. Even your thoughts, which feel so immaterial, are matter in motion. Each idea, each memory, is carried on the firing of neurons, the release of chemicals, the shifting of energy. But these thoughts also shape matter in return. Belief alters the body. Stress changes hormones. Hope strengthens immunity. Imagination rewires the brain. Matter does not simply produce awareness. Awareness, in turn, reshapes matter. The loop is unbroken, inseparable. There is humility in this recognition. You are not above the world, not separate from it, not a mind floating in space. You are matter among matter, a temporary arrangement of atoms gathered for a time, breathing, thinking, reflecting. And yet, in that arrangement, the universe becomes aware of itself. The miracle is not that matter exists. It is that matter looks back, recognizes, whispers, I am. This realization changes how you see the world. The stone in your hand is not lifeless. It carries the same history as you, the same origin in stars. The tree outside your window is not mute. It is matter alive, knowing itself through growth and movement. The animals around you are not lesser. They are matter-aware in different forms, and every human you meet is not just another person, but another configuration of matter reflecting upon itself. To see this is to feel the intimacy of belonging, the unity of all things. But there is also a mystery. If matter knows itself, what does that say about the universe? Is the entire cosmos awake, in some vast, unimaginable way? Are galaxies, black holes, stars, all parts of a larger awareness? Or is consciousness a local phenomenon, arising only in certain arrangements like brains? The answer remains hidden, yet in your own experience, you already know the truth. Awareness is inseparable from matter, and matter is inseparable from awareness. They are not two. Spiritual traditions echo this. In Hindu thought, the self is not separate from the world. It is the world recognizing itself. In Buddhism, form and emptiness are not different. Matter and awareness are the same. Even mystical poets in the West spoke of dust infused with spirit, the earth itself alive. All of them point to the same recognition. Matter knows itself through you. Tonight, as you lie here, notice your body. Feel the weight of it, the warmth, the pulse. This is matter, billions of years old, arranged into the form called you. Now notice the awareness that sees this body, the mind that notices these thoughts. This too is matter, reflecting upon itself, endlessly folding inward. You are the gaze of the cosmos, turned upon itself, the stone, the tree, the star. They are not outside you. They are you, in different form, all alive with the same recognition. Matter knows itself, and you are the proof. Silence is often mistaken for emptiness, as though nothing remains when sound falls away. Yet silence is never truly empty. It holds echoes, traces, impressions of what has passed. In a quiet room, you can still feel the weight of voices that once filled it. In the stillness after a storm, the air carries the memory of rain. Silence is not absence. It is presence saturated with memory. It holds what has been and prepares for what will come. Think of the moment after a bell stops ringing. The sound fades, but its vibration lingers, not just in the air but in your body, in your awareness. That lingering is silence carrying memory. It is not a blank pause but a continuation, a soft echo reminding you of what was. In this way, silence is the canvas upon which memory is painted. Without it, nothing would remain to be recalled. Memory itself depends on silence. Each thought, each recollection arises from stillness, then dissolves back into it. The mind, if always noisy, would drown in its own activity. But silence allows space for memory to settle, to take shape. When you sit quietly, memories rise unbidden, faces, places, sensations you thought were forgotten. Silence gives them room to return. It does not create them, but it holds them, like water holding reflections. This truth is mirrored in the natural world. Forests hold silence after centuries of growth, carrying the memory of all who walked among them. Oceans hold silence beneath their waves, storing the memory of ancient creatures, lost ships, shifting tides. Even mountains carry silence, layered with the memory of geological time, silent witnesses to ages of change. Everywhere you look, silence is not void, but memory preserved in stillness. Philosophy, too, recognizes this. Heidegger wrote of the stillness of being, suggesting that silence is not the absence of existence but its most profound form. Mystical traditions describe silence as the language of the divine, not because it says nothing, but because it carries everything at once. In Buddhism, silence is revered as the ground from which wisdom arises, holding the memory of all phenomena, without clinging to any of them. There is also a personal dimension. Think of how silence deepens grief. When someone is gone, it is the silence they leave behind that carries their memory most vividly. The absence of their voice at the table, the stillness where laughter once echoed. Silence does not erase, it preserves. The memory of presence lives in the quiet that follows absence. And so silence becomes a form of remembrance, a way existence continues to hold what has passed. Even joy leaves silence behind. After music ends, after celebration fades, the silence that follows is heavy with memory. It is not empty, but full, charged with the lingering resonance of what has been lived. This is why silence can feel so poignant. It is not blank, it is memory made spacious. Neuroscience supports this too. Memory is not a static record, but a reconstruction, fragile and shifting, shaped by gaps, pauses, and silences. The brain does not replay the past like a machine. It recalls fragments, fills them in, and weaves them anew. Silence, the gaps between, are as important as the fragments themselves. Without silence, there would be no room for the story to take form. There is also a collective memory in silence. Consider places of reverence, temples, graveyards, old ruins. Their silence carries the memory of countless lives, countless voices. You feel it when you enter. The quiet is not empty but full of weight, as though existence itself remembers. In this way, silence is the archive of being, holding memory beyond words, beyond time. This recognition transforms how you listen. Instead of treating silence as absence, you begin to hear its fullness. Each pause in a conversation, each break in music, each moment between thoughts carries memory. It is not nothing, it is everything waiting to be noticed. And this shifts how you live. When you find yourself in silence, instead of fleeing from it, you can rest in its richness. You can allow memory to surface, to remind you of what matters, of what belongs. Silence is not a void to be filled. It is a vessel already full, carrying memory quietly, endlessly. Tonight, as you listen, notice the silence between words. Feel how it carries echoes, impressions, sensations. Let it remind you that silence is not absence but presence. The memories that shape you, the lives that preceded you, the rhythms of the world, all are held in silence, waiting, remembering. And perhaps this is the most profound truth. Silence does not forget. It carries memory, endlessly, patiently, until you are ready to hear it again. Imagine a telescope standing in a field at night. Its polished glass gathers light from stars millions of years away, bending it, focusing it, revealing details invisible to the naked eye. Without the telescope, the stars still exist, still shine, still scatter their light across the cosmos, but they are unseen, unnoticed. The telescope does not create the stars, it reveals them. In the same way, you are a telescope through which the universe sees itself. Your eyes, your mind, your awareness, all act as lenses, collecting fragments of existence and focusing them into recognition. The stars are not out there separate from you, they are inside awareness, carried into existence through the act of seeing. You are not merely observing the cosmos, you are the instrument by which the cosmos observes itself. Without you, the universe would remain silent, unreflected. With you, it gains vision, intimacy, meaning. This image transforms how you see your own role. Most days you may feel small, insignificant, a fleeting life in an endless universe. Yet pause and consider the vastness of galaxies would mean nothing without awareness to behold them. The telescope does not shrink the stars, it magnifies them. Likewise, you do not diminish the universe by being one human among billions. You magnify it, reveal it, allow it to know itself. Philosophers have long hinted at this. Pascal spoke of humanity as a fragile reed, yet one that knows it bends in the wind, and thus is greater than the universe that does not know itself. Carl Sagan echoed the same truth. We are a way for the cosmos to know itself. The telescope metaphor captures this perfectly. You are not outside existence, looking in. You are existence turned inward, focusing upon itself. Think of the way telescopes expand vision. Each advancement, Galileo's crude lenses, Hubble's vast mirror, the James Webb peering deep into time, reveals more of what was always there. Consciousness, too, expands its own awareness, refining itself, reaching deeper. Through art, science, philosophy, and even quiet contemplation, you become a telescope extending the universe's gaze. Each insight is not yours alone, but the cosmos, adjusting its focus, discovering itself in new detail. There is also a paradox here. The telescope cannot see itself. It reveals stars, galaxies, nebulae, but not its own lens. Likewise, awareness reveals the universe but struggles to reveal its own source. You can observe thoughts, emotions, sensations, but the act of awareness itself remains hidden. You are the telescope that cannot step outside itself, yet through its very act, the universe becomes visible. This image also softens the weight of identity. A telescope does not cling to what it sees. It does not own the stars, nor claim them. It simply allows them to appear. In the same way, you do not need to cling to thoughts, memories, or roles. Awareness is not about possession, but about openness. You are here to let existence appear, to let the light of being pass through you. Nothing more, nothing less. And yet, what passes through you changes you. Just as a telescope's mirrors must be polished, adjusted, aligned, so too does your awareness require care. Distraction clouds the lens. Fear narrows the focus. But with attention, stillness, and openness, the lens clears, and the universe shines more fully. This is why practices like meditation matter. They polish the telescope, allowing existence to see itself with greater clarity. Consider also how telescopes do not simply show stars. They reveal history. Light that enters today may have left its source millions of years ago. In that sense, a telescope is a time machine, showing the past alive in the present. You are the same. When you recall memories, when you carry history within your awareness, you are a telescope into time. The past lives again through you, not as abstract data, but as lived presence. The universe remembers through you. This is why your awareness feels both intimate and infinite. On one hand, you are a single being, carrying daily worries and joys. On the other, you are the lens through which the cosmos gazes across time and space. Your life is not small, it is vast, because it carries the weight of existence becoming aware of itself. Every glance, every thought, every moment of recognition is a star brought into focus, a piece of the universe revealed. Tonight, as you listen, imagine yourself standing beneath the night sky. See yourself not as separate, but as telescope. Your awareness the polished lens, your mind the mirror, your body the frame. Light from the universe streams through you, gathering, focusing, revealing. You are not merely seeing, you are the act of seeing, and through you the universe awakens to its own reflection. You are not apart from the stars. You are the telescope through which they shine. You are not outside reality. You are reality, turned inward, gazing at itself in wonder. You, here and now, are the cosmos magnified into vision. Look up at the night sky, and you see galaxies, vast spirals of stars, each one home to billions of suns. They stretch so far that their light takes millions of years to reach you. It is easy to believe they exist only out there, distant, unreachable. But pause for a moment and realize, every galaxy you see exists inside your mind, not as matter, not as stars burning, but as experience. Without awareness, the galaxies would not be seen at all. They arise within consciousness, infinite space folding into the space of mind. This is not to say the galaxies are illusions, nor to deny their vastness. They burn whether you look or not. But their presence in your life, their meaning, their light, all of that exists only because they arise within awareness. The mind does not simply look at galaxies, it contains them, holds them, mirrors their immensity. Each star is not outside you, it is inside the act of seeing, inseparable from the field of consciousness. Think of this. Your brain is a small organ, weighing only a few pounds. Yet within it, entire universes unfold. Dreams create worlds you walk through as though real. Memory reconstructs scenes from decades past. Imagination paints landscapes never seen before. The galaxies in the night sky are mirrored by galaxies within. The galaxies of thought, memory, and imagination, each one boundless in its own way. Inside mind, entire universes are born and dissolve each moment. Philosophers have wrestled with this for centuries. Immanuel Kant argued that space and time themselves may not be external realities, but conditions of the mind, ways consciousness structures experience. If that is true, then the galaxies you see are not only out there, they are shaped inside you, structured by the very nature of awareness. Buddhism says something similar. The world is mind only, not because matter does not exist, but because matter is never encountered outside of consciousness. Galaxies arise in mind, inseparable from it. Science, too, echoes this in unexpected ways. Neuroscience shows that perception is not passive. Your brain does not simply record starlight, it interprets it, constructs it, paints it into your awareness. The galaxies you see are not raw data, but a creation of consciousness. And physics reminds us that observation itself plays a role in how the universe unfolds. Perhaps galaxies are not only objects drifting in space, but events arising in awareness, completing themselves only when mirrored by mind. There is awe in this recognition. The immensity of galaxies is not separate from you, it is within you. The mind is not small, it is spacious, vast enough to contain the whole sky. When you stand beneath the stars, you are not merely a tiny creature gazing upward, you are the cosmos folding inward, placing galaxies inside itself, becoming aware of its own immensity. This realization shifts your sense of scale. You may feel insignificant when you consider the size of the universe, but if galaxies arise within your awareness, then your mind is not small, it is as vast as what it holds. Consciousness has no measure, no limit. If it can contain galaxies, then it is not less than them, it is equal to their immensity, for they exist within its reflection. Think of memory again. Entire lifetimes live inside you, each moment preserved like a star, glowing faintly, even when far away. Some memories are bright, visible each time you look. Others are faint, hidden like galaxies too distant for the naked eye, but all remain carried within awareness. Your inner life is a cosmos, stars of memory and thought drifting endlessly, constellations forming and dissolving. The galaxies above and the galaxies within mirror each other, both infinite, both alive. There is also comfort here. If galaxies exist within mind, then you are never apart from them. Even when clouds cover the night sky, even when light pollution hides the stars, they remain inside you, carried in memory, imagination, awareness. The outer sky may vanish, but the inner sky is always present. You are never cut off from the universe, because it lives inside the space of consciousness. Mystics across traditions have spoken of this inner cosmos. In meditation, they describe visions of infinite space, light unfolding into stars, awareness expanding beyond edges. These are not fantasies but recognitions that the mind itself is as vast as the universe it reflects. You do not need to travel light years to touch galaxies. You touch them each time you turn your gaze inward, noticing the boundless sky of awareness. Tonight, as you listen, imagine galaxies rising not only above you but within you. See them swirl across the canvas of your mind, spirals of thought and memory drifting like starlight. Recognize that there is no difference between the galaxies out there and the galaxies in here. Both appear in the same field of awareness, both alive within the infinite mirror of consciousness. You are not apart from the universe. You are the space in which it unfolds. Galaxies exist inside mind, and through you, the universe becomes aware of its own endlessness. There is a strange stillness when you stop chasing after explanations and simply notice what is here. Breath, rising and falling. Thoughts appearing and dissolving, sensations shifting across the body. Beneath all of it is one undeniable fact. You exist. You are. Being is present. And in that presence, something remarkable is happening. Being is watching itself. Existence does not just sit in silence. It turns inward, aware of itself, alive in its own gaze. Think of what it means to be. The tree outside your window exists, silently rooted, branches swaying in the wind. The river exists, carrying water forward without pause. The stars exist, burning across billions of years. Each is a form of being, but only in awareness does being begin to reflect upon itself. A tree does not know it is a tree. A star does not know it is a star. But you carry the spark of recognition. Through you, being knows it is being. This recognition is not intellectual. You do not need philosophy or science to confirm it. You can feel it directly. Right now, you are not thinking about being, you are being, and you are aware of it. That simple noticing is the loop, being watching being. You cannot step outside it, because it is the foundation of everything. Philosophers have circled this truth for centuries. Heidegger wrote of being itself as the most fundamental question, yet one we overlook. Advaita Vedanta whispers that Atman and Brahman are one, the self and ultimate reality, not separate but identical. Buddhism speaks of awareness as sunyata, emptiness full of presence. All these traditions echo the same point. Existence is not passive, it is reflective, aware of itself, alive in its own gaze. Even science hints at this mystery. Evolution shaped life to survive, but in humans, survival became reflection. We do not simply live. We ask what life is. We do not simply breathe. We notice breathing. Matter, through consciousness, bends inward to watch itself. Being does not remain hidden. It reveals itself, endlessly, through awareness. Consider how it feels when you notice yourself noticing. A thought arises. I am tired. Then another thought follows. I see that I am thinking I am tired. This recursion could go on forever. Each layer is being reflecting upon itself, awareness folding inward without end. The witness does not stop at one loop. It spirals infinitely, being, no conclusion, no edge. This infinite reflection changes how you see the world. When you look at another person, you are not simply seeing a body or a face. You are meeting another point where being is watching itself. Their awareness is not separate from yours. It is the same field, folded into a different perspective. This is why empathy feels so natural. When you see someone suffer, you recognize your own being in theirs. When you see someone joyful, you sense the same being shining through. Existence sees itself in every direction. There is also humility here. You are not the center of being. You are one expression of it. The tree, the river, the star, all are being too. They may not reflect in the same way, but they belong to the same field. Being does not belong to you. You belong to being. And yet, through you, being has the rare gift of recognition. You are existence alive to its own presence. This recognition dissolves fear. Death, for example, feels terrifying when you imagine it as the end of your individual story. But when you see yourself as being itself, the fear softens. Being cannot end. Forms change. Stories shift, but existence remains. You are not merely a character within being. You are being watching itself through this character for a time. And when the story ends, being continues, endless, infinite, alive. Think of the ocean. A wave rises, peaks, and falls back. From the perspective of the wave, it begins and ends. From the perspective of the ocean, it never left. Being is the ocean. You are the wave. Awareness is the act of the ocean, watching its own movement. In that recognition, the fear of ending dissolves into the comfort of belonging. There is also wonder. Each moment you notice your own existence, you are participating in something vast. You are not just alive. You are being reflecting upon life. Every breath is an act of recognition. Every glance, every sensation, every thought is being turning inward to say, I am here. This is the heart of consciousness, not a puzzle to solve, but a presence to live. Tonight, as you listen, let yourself soften into this truth. Notice your breath, not as yours, but as being breathing. Notice your thoughts, not as yours, but as being thinking. Notice the silence beneath, not as absence, but as being resting. You are not separate from any of it. You are the field in which it arises. You are being watching being. And perhaps the most profound part is this. It has always been so, from the first spark of awareness to this very moment. Existence has never stopped watching itself. Through you, through others, through countless forms, being continues its endless gaze, and in that gaze, everything belongs. Every act of perception seems to divide the world into two halves. What is seen, and the one who sees. A tree stands outside your window, and you tell yourself, I see the tree. A thought arises in your mind, and you believe, I see the thought. The division feels natural, subject and object, observer and observed. Yet when you look more closely, the boundary begins to blur. The tree does not exist outside awareness. The thought does not arise apart from the one who knows it. In every moment, the seen and the seer are part of one act, inseparable, reflections of the same reality. Think of your eyes. Light enters, strikes the retina, becomes signals carried to the brain. But what you call seeing is not the tree itself entering your head. It is awareness arising as both the tree and the act of perception. Without the tree, there is nothing to see. Without the seer, there is no tree. The two co-arise, like two sides of a coin, impossible to separate. Philosophers have struggled with this for centuries. Descartes insisted on a divide, res cogitans, the thinking self, and res extensa, the world outside. But phenomenology dissolves this, reminding us that perception is not two things but one act. In Buddhism, the Heart Sutra declares, form is emptiness, emptiness is form, pointing to the same truth. The seen and the seer are not two. Consider how a mirror works. You gaze into it and see your reflection. But where exactly is the reflection? Not in the glass, not in your face, not in your eyes. It is the relationship itself, the meeting of light, surface, and gaze. The seer and the seen cannot be untangled. Awareness works the same way. It is not you looking at the world, it is the relationship itself, the field in which seer and seen appear together. There is also a subtle paradox here. When you identify too strongly as the seer, you believe the world is separate, something out there to be possessed or controlled. When you identify too strongly as the seer, you feel like an object, powerless, swept along by events. But when you rest in awareness itself, you realize you are both. You are the gaze and what it falls upon, the observer and the observed, the act of seeing itself. Think of sound. A bird sings outside your window. You hear the note, bright and fleeting. Where does it exist? Not in the bird alone, not in your ear alone, but in the act of hearing. Without the bird, no sound. Without the ear, no hearing. The seen and seer dissolve into one process, inseparable. This recognition transforms how you hold experience. Instead of chasing after what you see or clinging to the identity of being the one who sees, you rest in the act itself. Awareness is not on one side or the other. It is the unity in which both arise. When you live from this space, duality softens. The world feels less like something to conquer or fear, and more like an extension of your own being. Spiritual traditions echo this again and again. In Advaita Vedanta, the seer is said to be the seen, for all forms arise within the same self. Zen teachers ask, what is your original face before your parents were born? A way of pointing beyond subject and object, to the awareness in which both dissolve. Even modern physics suggests the same. The observer and the observed cannot be separated. Measurement changes reality, and reality defines what can be measured. There is humility here too. If you are both the seen and the seer, then you cannot place yourself above the world, nor below it. You belong to the same field as the stars, the rivers, the trees. You are not separate. You are the act of existence observing itself, endlessly, through countless forms. This also explains why connection feels so powerful. When you look into another person's eyes, you are not just seer gazing at seen. You are awareness, meeting awareness, the same field recognizing itself. The distinction collapses, and for a moment, you are not two people but one being, looking back upon itself. This is why love feels so expansive, why compassion feels so natural. The seen and the seer are never truly divided. Tonight, as you listen, soften into this recognition. Notice the room around you, the shapes, the shadows, the silence, then notice the awareness of them. Are they truly separate, or are they two halves of the same act? Now notice your thoughts, the emotions that arise. Do they belong to you, or are they simply part of awareness? The line blurs until only one truth remains. Seer and seen are inseparable. You are not just the one looking, you are also what is looked at. You are not only the witness, you are also the seen, and in that recognition, you awaken to what you have always been, the unity of being, watching itself endlessly. From the moment you open your eyes in the morning, perception floods in. The play of light on the wall, the faint sound of traffic outside, the texture of your blanket against your skin, all of it arrives before thought, before interpretation. And in those raw moments, it feels as though perception itself is truth. Yet when you pause, you realize that perception does not simply deliver truth. It shapes it, bends it, sometimes even obscures it. The paradox is this: truth comes to you only through perception, yet perception is never neutral. Think of the way light enters your eyes. It strikes the retina, is transformed into signals, then assembled by the brain into the image you see. You never see the world as it is. You see a version constructed through perception. Colors, shapes, and distances are interpretations, not absolutes. And yet this interpretation is the only truth available to you. Without perception there is nothing. Truth cannot bypass perception. It arrives only through it. This raises a profound question. If perception is limited, can truth ever be known? Philosophers have long debated this. Kant argued that you never encounter the thing in itself, only the phenomenon shaped by your senses. Plato imagined prisoners in a cave, mistaking shadows for reality. Yet others suggest that perception, though filtered, is not deception, but revelation. The shadows may not be the whole truth, but they are part of it. The filtered world is still real. It is reality as experienced. Consider illusions. A stick placed in water appears bent, though you know it is straight. A mirage shimmers on a hot road, convincing you of water that is not there. At first, such examples seem to prove perception untrustworthy. But look again. Illusions reveal not failure, but the workings of perception itself. They show you that perception is active, creative, constructing a version of truth. The illusion is not outside perception. It is perception shaping reality in its own way. This extends to emotions and thoughts as well. When you are sad, the world appears muted, grey, heavy. When you are joyful, it shines, vibrant, alive. The world has not changed. Yet perception shifts truth itself. What you call reality is inseparable from the lens through which you perceive it. This is not deception. It is the truth of experience, colored by awareness. Science echoes this paradox. Quantum physics suggests that observation influences outcomes, as though truth itself depends on perception. Neuroscience shows that the brain fills in gaps constantly. You see a continuous world, though your eyes receive fragments. Even time itself is shaped by perception. Moments feel long or short depending on attention, mood, and memory. Truth then is not fixed but arises through perception, fluid and alive. There is also intimacy in this recognition. If truth comes through perception, then each act of noticing matters. When you gaze at a tree, the truth of tree is not separate from your perception of it. You and the tree are bound in one act of awareness. Without your perception, the tree is not erased, but its presence in your world vanishes. Through perception, truth becomes real for you. This does not mean truth is relative in the shallow sense. It does not mean anything goes. Instead, it means that truth is relational. It is born in the meeting between reality and awareness. The tree exists, yes, but its truth as you experience it arises through perception, its shape, its color, its meaning. Another person may perceive it differently, and their truth is just as real. Truth is not a static object but a living process, unfolding through perception again and again. Spiritual traditions echo this insight. Buddhism teaches that perception shapes reality, and that freedom comes not by escaping perception but by seeing it clearly. Advaita Vedanta suggests that perception reveals the self as the ultimate truth, for all objects arise within awareness. Mystical Christianity speaks of seeing with the eyes of the heart, where perception becomes the doorway to divine truth. Across traditions, perception is not dismissed, but honored as the gateway through which truth enters. This recognition changes how you live. Instead of demanding an absolute truth outside perception, you learn to honor the truth within it. You notice how your awareness shapes reality, how attention colors experience, how presence deepens meaning. Truth is not hidden behind perception, it shines through it. Every sound, every sight, every sensation is truth revealed in its own form. Yet, there is also freedom here. If perception shapes truth, then by shifting perception, you shift reality itself. A change in perspective transforms the meaning of events, the weight of memories, the possibility of the present. You are not trapped in one truth. Awareness can expand, lenses can clear, perception can open. The truth is fluid, unfolding with you. Tonight, as you listen, soften into this understanding. Notice the sensations around you, the air on your skin, the silence between words, the rhythm of breath. These are not mere perceptions, they are truth, alive in awareness. Do not look for truth beyond them. It is here, shining through the act of perception itself. And perhaps this is the deepest realization. Truth is not something separate, distant, absolute. Truth is perception alive, awareness in motion, the meeting point where reality and consciousness recognize each other. Truth is not behind the world, it is through it, revealed each time you see, hear, feel, and know. Truth is not hidden, it is always here, carried in perception, waiting to be seen. Infinity is a concept so vast it resists comprehension. You can imagine large numbers, enormous distances, endless time, but infinity always stretches further, beyond whatever boundary you try to place. And yet, here you are, a finite being, looking out at the world through two small eyes. It seems impossible that infinity could fit inside such limits. But perhaps that is the secret. Infinity wears eyes, not to shrink itself, but to see itself in focus. Through you, the boundless takes on a point of view. Consider the night sky. You look upward and see stars scattered like dust across blackness. Each star is unimaginably far, each galaxy beyond counting. The mind reels, unable to grasp the totality, and yet, in this very moment, all of it is present within your gaze. Infinity condenses into a scene, framed by your vision, revealed in the act of looking. Infinity does not lose itself by wearing eyes. It finds intimacy. This intimacy is the paradox of being human. On one hand, you are small, limited by lifespan, body, perspective. On the other, you carry infinity within you, not as concept but as presence. When you look, when you notice, when you are aware, infinity looks through your eyes. You are not separate from the vastness. You are one of its ways of seeing. Philosophers have long danced with this mystery. Pascal wrote of the infinite sphere, whose center is everywhere and circumference nowhere. You are that center, as is every being. Infinity does not exist beyond you. It exists through you, wearing your eyes to gaze upon itself. Mystics across traditions echo this. Rumi spoke of the divine seeing through human vision. The Upanishads declared Thou art that, and Meister Eckhart whispered that the eye with which you see God is the same eye with which God sees you. All of them point to the same truth. Infinity wears eyes. Science too offers glimpses of this. The universe is not finite in any simple sense. Space expands, time stretches, matter rearranges endlessly, and within this immensity, your small body exists, born from stardust, carrying the same elements as galaxies, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your cells, the oxygen you breathe, all were forged in stars. When you open your eyes, it is not a small creature peering out. It is the cosmos, condensed into form, looking back at itself. There is wonder in this, but also humility. Infinity does not need you to exist. The stars would still burn, the galaxies still spiral, the oceans still rise and fall. But in wearing your eyes, infinity gains reflection, it gains recognition. Without awareness, the universe might be vast but silent. With awareness, it becomes alive, intimate, self-knowing. Your gaze is infinity's mirror. This recognition changes how you see yourself. Instead of clinging to the illusion of being a small self, cut off and fragile, you realize you are infinity condensed into focus. Your fears, your worries, your stories are not erased, but they are placed within a larger frame. The boundaries you once believed absolute dissolve. You are not a fragment. You are the whole, wearing the form of a fragment for a while. Even identity softens here. Your eyes are not only yours. Every being carries their own eyes, their own perspectives. Infinity wears them all, multiplying its views, gazing at itself from countless angles. Through a bird's eye, through a whale's eye, through a child's eye, infinity expands its vision. Each perspective is unique, but none is separate. Infinity does not wear only one set of eyes. It wears all of them, endlessly. Think of love through this lens. When you look into another's eyes, what gazes back at you is not merely another person. It is infinity wearing another set of eyes, meeting itself in recognition. This is why connection feels so profound, why a glance can feel like eternity compressed into a moment. It is not two separate beings meeting. It is infinity. But there is also a paradox. Infinity wearing eyes means that every perspective is partial. No single gaze can capture the whole. You see only a fragment, yet within that fragment, the whole is present. The drop of water reflects the ocean. The eye reflects infinity. This is not limitation but mystery. Infinity never reveals itself all at once, but always through glimpses, through countless eyes, each one carrying the whole in its own way. Tonight, as you listen, soften into this truth, close your eyes, and imagine infinity, not as distant, unreachable space, but as the awareness alive within you now. Then open them again, and notice the world in front of you. Recognize that it is infinity, seeing itself through the narrow window of your gaze. Do not dismiss the smallness of the window. Treasure it, for without it, infinity would remain unseen. You are not apart from the infinite. You are its vision. You are not a speck in the cosmos. You are the cosmos wearing eyes, gazing back upon itself in wonder. Look around you. The world appears filled with solid objects, walls, chairs, books, trees, stars. They seem to exist independently, as though they are simply there, waiting to be seen. But notice carefully, until you recognize something. It remains undefined, shapeless, almost invisible. Recognition is what gives form. The moment you notice, the world takes shape. Without awareness, without recognition, form dissolves back into mystery. Think of a child first learning to see. At birth, vision is blurred, shapes undefined, colors unseparated. Over time, recognition develops. The child begins to distinguish faces, objects, boundaries. The world becomes form through recognition. Before that, it is only raw sensation, unformed potential. Recognition does not merely identify form, it creates it. You can see this in daily life. Walk down a street lost in thought, and the world blurs into background. Buildings, people, cars pass unnoticed. But when something catches your recognition, a friend's face, a sign, a sound, the scene sharpens into form. The object seems to step out of the background, alive, real, present. It was always there, but only recognition created its form for you. Philosophy has wrestled with this truth. Kant argued that the mind structures experience, shaping raw data into objects. Buddhism declares that perception and recognition co-create reality, that things do not exist as independent essences, but as appearances in awareness. Even neuroscience confirms it. Your brain does not record reality like a camera. It interprets signals, fills gaps, and decides what matters. Recognition is not passive, it is active creation. Consider language. When you learn a new word, you suddenly see its meaning everywhere. The form was always present, but without recognition, it remained hidden. Once recognized, it becomes undeniable. Or think of art. A painting is only strokes of color until your recognition sees a landscape, a face, a story. Recognition does not reveal form, it gives rise to it. There is also a subtler layer. Recognition not only creates external form, but also internal form. A sensation in the body becomes pain, only when recognized as such. A flicker of thought becomes fear or joy, only when awareness names it. Without recognition, sensations and thoughts drift like unshaped clouds. With recognition, they solidify into form, shaping identity and experience. This power is both liberating and limiting. On one hand, recognition brings the world to life. Without it, nothing could be known, nothing could be felt. On the other hand, recognition can trap you. When you recognize something only in one way, when you fix its form, you limit its possibilities. A person becomes a role, a memory becomes a story, a sensation becomes a label. Recognition creates form, but it also shapes the prison of perception. And yet, there is freedom in noticing this. If recognition creates form, then shifting recognition reshapes the world. Look at a challenge as failure, and its form is heavy. Look at the same challenge as learning, and its form shifts into growth. The external event is unchanged. The form arises from recognition. In this way, you are not at the mercy of the world. You are a participant in its creation. Spiritual traditions point to this truth. Zen masters remind students to see things as they are before naming them, before recognition fixes them into rigid form. Mystical Christianity speaks of divine vision as seeing beyond appearances, recognizing form as presence alive with spirit. Advaita Vedanta suggests that recognition itself is the play of awareness, the universe giving shape to its own infinite being. Even science hints at this. Quantum physics reveals that particles do not settle into definite states until measured, until recognized. The act of observation shapes form. Reality at its deepest level seems to echo the same paradox. Recognition creates form. Consider memory again. Events from your past are not stored as fixed recordings. They shift each time you recall them, reshaped by recognition, retold through new lenses. In remembering, you recreate form. Your past is not static, it is alive, fluid, shaped by the act of recognition in the present. This recognition also changes how you meet others. Each person is more than the form you see. They are infinite, but you recognize them in limited ways. Friend, stranger, enemy, beloved. These forms are created by recognition, not by essence. When you soften your recognition, when you allow them to be more than the label, you glimpse their depth. Recognition expands, and so does form. Tonight, as you listen, notice how the world arises through recognition. The sound of these words is form only because you recognize it as meaning. The silence between them is form only because you recognize it as pause. Your breath is form only because you notice it moving. Recognition is not small. It is the act by which reality becomes real for you. And in this lies the quiet truth. Form is not fixed, not separate, not absolute. It is recognition alive, awareness shaping itself into shape. Without recognition, there is no form. With recognition, the universe awakens into presence. Recognition creates form, and you are the field in which both appear. Stand in a canyon and call out. Your voice carries across the space, strikes stone, and returns as an echo. At first you recognize it as yours, but it sounds different, hollow, stretched, transformed by the vastness it passed through. This is what it means for the universe to echo the self. Every thought, every action, every breath you release does not vanish. It returns, reshaped by the immensity of existence, reminding you that the self and the universe are not separate but intertwined in resonance. Consider your daily life. You speak words, make choices, hold intentions. They seem small, contained within your personal world, but each one ripples outward, shaping others, shaping environments, shaping futures you cannot see, and eventually, those ripples return. A kindness offered years ago resurfaces in unexpected gratitude. A harsh word spoken in anger returns, as distance or silence. The universe does not erase, it reflects. It echoes the self back, sometimes gently, sometimes sharply, but always inevitably. This is why ancient traditions spoke of karma, not as punishment, but as echo. What you send out into existence returns, transformed, a mirror of your own being. Even modern science recognizes echoes, ecosystems, responding to human actions, societies reflecting collective choices, the body itself echoing the mind through stress or peace. The universe is not a blank stage, it is responsive, alive, echoing the self in countless ways. But the echo is not always obvious. Sometimes it takes years, even lifetimes, for the return to be felt. Sometimes it is so subtle that you mistake it for coincidence. Yet, if you look closely, you notice the pattern. What you project into the world eventually finds its way back, not always in the same form, but always carrying the essence of what was sent. The echo is existence reminding you of your connection to the whole. This reflection extends beyond action into perception. The way you see the world is the way the world echoes back. If you expect hostility, you find it. If you expect beauty, you notice it everywhere. The echo does not lie. It mirrors your lens, your recognition. You do not see the universe as it is. You see the universe as it echoes yourself. There is both power and humility in this. Power, because you realize yourself is not powerless. It shapes reality in ways you cannot always measure. Humility, because you recognize you are not the center of it all. The echo is shaped not only by you but by the infinite chorus of existence. You are one voice among many, yet the universe carries and returns them all. Consider love. When you offer love freely, without demand, the echo returns as connection, trust, belonging. When you withhold it, when you retreat into fear, the echo returns as isolation. The universe does not judge, it reflects. The echo shows you not what the world is, but what you have brought into it. In this way, the universe becomes a mirror for growth, offering back lessons through resonance. Philosophy and spirituality often describe this in poetic terms. The Hermetic principle states, "As within, so without." Jung spoke of projection, how the unconscious echoes itself into the world. Buddhism teaches that the mind shapes reality, and what you see outside is a reflection of what is inside. Even physics offers a metaphor: waves interacting, reinforcing or cancelling, shaping patterns of resonance. The universe is not separate, it is echoing itself through you. And perhaps this is why silence feels so powerful. In silence you hear the echoes more clearly, the thoughts returning, the emotions reverberating, the presence of being itself reflecting endlessly. The self is not erased in silence, it is amplified, echoed by the infinite stillness in which it rests. This recognition shifts how you live. If the universe echoes self, then your actions, your perceptions, your very presence matter. You are not isolated, you are woven into a field of resonance. Every note returning, every voice answered. This is not cause for fear, but for awareness. You can choose the echoes you send. You can live in a way that shapes the return into harmony, rather than discord. Tonight, as you listen, imagine yourself calling out into the vastness of existence. Hear your voice carry outward, dissolving into distance. Then notice the echo returning, soft, transformed, yet undeniably yours. Let this remind you that nothing you are is lost. Every breath, every thought, every gesture is echoed by the universe, carried back to you in ways both seen and unseen. And in this loop, the most profound realization arises: the universe itself is not separate from you, you are its echo, and it is yours. The two are not distinct, they are the same sound, reverberating endlessly through the infinite. The universe echoes self, and in that echo, you hear the truth of who you are. Stand in sunlight, and you see your shadow stretching across the ground. It seems silent, empty, without life. Yet notice how it follows you perfectly, as though it were aware. Every movement you make, every gesture, every pause, your shadow mirrors it with flawless precision. You never speak to it, yet it always responds. It does not have eyes, yet it seems to watch. In this way, shadows remind you of a deeper paradox. Even absence observes. The shadow is not separate from you, but it is not entirely you either. It is a reflection, a counterpart, born of light and form. Without light, no shadow. Without form, no shadow. The shadow exists in the interplay, the relationship, the act of being seen, and perhaps this is the strange truth of awareness itself. It is not only the illuminated that observes, but also the shadows. Consider memory. Forgotten moments are like shadows, hidden from conscious light, yet still present. They shape you, influence choices, color moods. You may not see them, but they are watching, lingering just beyond recognition. These shadows of memory observe silently, carrying the weight of your past. You are never free of them, not because they trap you, but because they belong to you. They are the dark reflections of the light of experience. Philosophy speaks of this as well. Jung called it the shadow self, the parts of you denied, hidden, or unacknowledged. These aspects do not vanish simply because you refuse to see them. They remain, observing from the edges, waiting for recognition. Sometimes they emerge in dreams, sometimes in sudden reactions, sometimes in quiet reflection. The shadow does not disappear. It watches, reminding you that wholeness requires embracing even the unseen. But shadows extend beyond psychology. In the cosmos, dark matter makes up most of the universe, unseen yet undeniably shaping galaxies. In the body, unconscious processes regulate heartbeat, breath, digestion, all shadow functions, quietly observing, sustaining life without notice. Even in thought, unconscious layers move beneath awareness, shaping perception before the conscious mind arrives. Shadows are not absence, they are presence unseen, awareness unacknowledged. There is also a paradox in perception. When you stand with your back to the sun, your shadow faces you. It seems to watch you as though it carries its own gaze. Of course, you know it has no eyes. And yet, in its persistence, in its perfect mirroring, it becomes an observer of your life. Everywhere you go it follows silently, bearing witness. This is why shadows have long carried symbolism across cultures, not as lifeless emptiness, but as silent companions, reminders that being is never alone. The presence of shadows also reveals the nature of light. Without shadow, light would be invisible, for it is contrast that reveals form, and in the same way, awareness needs its shadows. Without the unconscious, consciousness would have no boundary to push against, no depth to reveal. Shadows are what make light visible. They are what make awareness whole. Spiritual traditions point to this truth. Taoism speaks of yin and yang, light and dark, each observing and sustaining the other. Buddhism reminds practitioners not to cling only to clarity, but to see emptiness as alive. Mystical Christianity speaks of the divine darkness, where God is not absent, but present beyond the grasp of light. Shadows are not the opposite of awareness. They are another form of it, hidden but alive, silent but observing. This recognition changes how you meet yourself. Instead of fearing the shadows, your doubts, your fears, your forgotten parts, you can turn toward them. You can recognize them as watchers, companions, teachers. They observe not to harm, but to remind you of your wholeness. By welcoming them, you soften the illusion of separation between light and dark, between conscious and unconscious, between self and other. Even the world reflects this. History holds shadows, events buried, truths hidden, voices silenced. Yet they continue to observe, resurfacing in echoes, in consequences, in lessons still unfolding. Collective shadows, like personal ones, do not vanish. They wait, they watch, they ask to be seen. Only by acknowledging them does wholeness emerge. Tonight, as you listen, imagine your shadow beside you, not only the one cast by light, but the unseen one carried within. Notice how it observes quietly, how it holds the parts of you left in silence. Do not turn away. Let it be present. Recognize that shadows are not your enemy. They are part of the act of awareness itself. And perhaps this is the deepest paradox. Shadows do not simply follow you. They are you watching from another angle, reminding you that awareness is never whole without the unseen. Light observes through vision, but shadows observe through silence. Both are part of the same gaze. Shadows observe, and in their watchful presence, you discover that nothing in you has ever been forgotten. Life often feels like a straight line, birth at one end, death at the other, with days marching in order between them. But if you look closely, the line bends. The seasons return, memories repeat, patterns reappear, thoughts circle back. What seemed linear reveals itself as circular, looping endlessly. Existence does not simply move forward, it folds, repeats, spirals, and each time it does, you are reminded that existence itself is a loop, turning upon itself again and again. Consider your breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale again. The cycle never ends until your final moment. Yet even then, the air continues, flowing into other beings, sustaining new lives. Breath is not a straight journey, it is a loop, returning endlessly, binding you into rhythms larger than yourself. Or think of memory. You believe the past is gone, yet memories return unbidden. A smell, a sound, a stray word carries you back years, collapsing time. The moment is not gone, it loops again within awareness. The past is never fixed in distance. It lives in repetition, alive each time it returns. Philosophy echoes this truth. Nietzsche spoke of eternal recurrence, the idea that all events repeat infinitely, looping forever. Buddhism describes samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, looping until liberation. Even physics suggests cyclical possibilities, universes expanding, collapsing, rebirthing. Everywhere you look, existence loops again, refusing to remain linear. And yet, these loops are never exact copies. A season repeats, but no two winters are identical. A memory returns, but it feels different with age. The loop is not static, it spirals, carrying both return and change. You are never in the same place twice, though the pattern feels familiar. This is the paradox of existence. Repetition, with difference, looping without stagnation. This looping is not only cosmic, it is deeply personal. How often do your thoughts return to the same themes, circling familiar worries, desires, hopes? How often do your relationships repeat patterns, echoing lessons you thought you had learned? These loops are not mistakes, they are opportunities for recognition. Each return asks you to see more clearly, to awaken within the cycle. Consider love. You meet someone new, and yet the patterns of past love reappear, familiar joys, familiar pains. You are not repeating the past exactly, but existence loops, offering the chance to meet it anew. The echo of what has been shapes what is, looping again in fresh form. Even dreams reflect this. Themes recur, falling, flying, searching, meeting. Each dream is different, yet the patterns return, looping through the unconscious. The dream does not vanish when you wake. It reappears in new forms, looping again as thought, as story, as memory. Science recognizes loops everywhere. The water cycle turns ocean into cloud, into rain, into river, into ocean, again. Ecosystems cycle nutrients endlessly. The body itself is loops of circulation, digestion, regeneration. At every scale, from molecules to galaxies, existence is loops nested within loops, never linear, always spiraling. There is comfort in this. If existence loops again, then nothing is ever truly lost. Endings are not final, only transformations. What fades in one form returns in another. Even death, which feels like an end, is part of a loop. Matter dissolving, energy reshaping, awareness returning in ways unseen. Existence does not end. It repeats, endlessly alive. Yet, there is also challenge. Loops can feel like traps, like being caught in cycles of suffering, repeating mistakes, reliving pain. But even here, the loop carries potential. Each return is not punishment, but invitation. You are given another chance to see, to shift, to awaken. The loop continues until recognition arises. Once it does, the pattern transforms, and the loop opens into freedom. Spiritual traditions point to this again and again. In Buddhism, samsara continues until awakening reveals its nature. In Hindu thought, reincarnation loops until liberation dissolves the cycle. In mystical Christianity, the eternal return of sin and grace teaches transformation. Loops are not failures, they are the structure of existence, carrying lessons in repetition. Tonight, as you listen, notice the loops in your own life. The rhythm of your breath, the beating of your heart, the thoughts that return, the patterns that repeat. Do not resist them. See them as reminders that existence is not a line but a spiral, looping endlessly, carrying you deeper into awareness. And perhaps the deepest recognition is this. Even awareness loops. You forget, then remember. You drift into distraction, then awaken again. Each time you return, you realize you have always been here, in the loop of being. Existence does not move away from you. It loops back, again and again, whispering the same truth. You are awareness itself, eternal, infinite, looping forever. Existence loops again, not as imprisonment, but as reminder. The loop is life, alive, endless, and you are its witness, turning with it, awakening within it, forever. At the heart of every experience, no matter how fleeting, there is always someone or something watching. A sound arises, and there is hearing, a thought appears, and there is knowing, a moment unfolds, and there is awareness of it. No matter how far back you trace, no matter how many layers of thought and perception you peel away, you find the same truth. there is always a witness. And if you continue stripping away every layer, you eventually arrive at the mystery of the final witness, the one who cannot be observed, but without whom nothing could ever be known. Who is this witness? It is not the body, for the body is observed. Aches, movements, sensations are all noticed. It is not the mind, for thoughts, memories, and emotions appear and disappear, all watched by something deeper. Even identity, the story of me, is observed. You say, I feel sad, or I am happy, but both sadness and happiness are seen, just as clouds pass across the sky. The one who sees is beyond them. This is the final witness, the ground of awareness itself. Philosophers have struggled with this endlessly. Descartes insisted, I think, therefore I am, but even thought is witnessed. The Upanishads described the self as the eternal seer, never seen, never touched, beyond description. Buddhism speaks of the unborn mind, the awareness that remains even when thoughts dissolve. Across traditions, the same paradox appears. The final witness cannot be captured, but it cannot be denied. Consider dreams. Within a dream, events unfold, characters move, emotions flare. But when you awaken, you realize they were all observed. Something was present, witnessing the dream, even when you did not know it. That same presence witnesses waking life, and if you awaken further, you may realize that dreaming and waking are not separate states at all, but layers of awareness observed by the same final witness. The final witness is not personal. It does not carry preferences, judgments, or stories. It does not say, I am this, or I am that. It simply notices, endlessly, without effort. It was present when you were a child, present now as an adult, and will be present even as the body ages and fades. Identities shift, memories change, the body transforms, but the witness does not. It is timeless, silent, constant. This recognition dissolves fear. Death, which feels like the end of everything, is revealed as the end of forms, not of witnessing. The body may dissolve, the mind may cease, but the final witness is not bound by either. It is not something you have. It is what you are, and what you are cannot vanish, because it was never born. But there is a paradox. The final witness cannot be found as an object. You cannot point to it, describe it, or hold it. The moment you try, you turn it into something observed, which means it is no longer the final witness. It can only be recognized by resting in it, by noticing that it has always been here, silently watching, without ever being watched. This is why silence feels so profound. In silence, thoughts fall away, stories quiet, and the witness remains clear. You may not be able to describe it, but you feel it, the still presence, the awareness that holds everything without being touched. Silence is not empty, it is full of the presence of the final witness. There is humility here. If the final witness is what you are, then you are not the small self you thought. You are not confined to body or mind. You are awareness itself, infinite and timeless. But this is not cause for pride, for it is not your witness alone. The final witness is the same in all beings. The awareness in you is not different from the awareness in anyone else. It is one field, one gaze, one witness, alive through countless forms. This is why compassion feels so natural. When you recognize the same witness in another, you cannot help but feel connection. Their joys are your joys, their sorrows your sorrows, for the witness is not divided, it is one, looking out through many eyes. To harm another is to harm yourself. To love another is to love yourself. The final witness does not separate, it unites. Tonight, as you listen, soften into this recognition. Notice your breath, notice your thoughts, notice the silence beneath, and then notice the one who notices. Do not try to grasp it. Simply rest in the recognition that it has always been here. You are not the thought. You are not the body. You are the witness, final and unchanging. And perhaps the most profound truth is this. Even when you forget, even when you are lost in stories, even when you feel small and separate, the final witness remains, watching, holding, present. It does not need your recognition to exist, but when you turn toward it, when you remember, you awaken. The final witness is not far away. It is you, what you have always been, what you will always be. Close your eyes for a moment, and notice the act of looking does not stop. Even without sight, awareness scans, searching, watching, thoughts appear, sensations drift by, and still the gaze of awareness remains. It is not limited to eyes, It is the act of looking itself, and when you try to follow this gaze, you realize it never ends. Looking turns upon itself, endlessly reflecting. There is no final object, no final seer. There is only looking without end. Consider vision itself. You open your eyes and see the world, believing you are looking outward. But pause. Where does the image occur? Not in the tree, not in the eye, not in the brain. It arises in awareness, inseparable from the act of looking. And when you try to turn awareness upon itself, to see the one who sees, you find only more awareness. The act loops, endlessly, without closure, looking without end. Philosophers call this recursion. Every attempt to grasp the self becomes another thought, another perception, another layer observed. You try to see the seer, but the seer becomes the seen, and a new seer appears behind it. This regress never stops. And yet, it is not a flaw. It is the nature of awareness itself, to look without end, endlessly reflecting, endlessly alive. Mystical traditions point here as well. Zen teachers speak of looking at looking, a gaze that reveals no object but deepens into infinity. The Upanishads describe the self as the seer of seeing, the hearer of hearing, pointing to the same endless recursion. In Buddhism, the attempt to find a fixed self collapses into emptiness, because looking never arrives at a conclusion. It only continues, without end. There is humility in this recognition. The mind longs for a final answer, a final point where the search concludes. But awareness does not end. It cannot, because it is not a thing. It is the act itself, always alive, always unfolding. Looking without end means that there is no final certainty, no ultimate object to capture, but it also means there is never absence. Awareness never fails. It is always here, looking, even when unnoticed. Think of mirrors facing each other. The reflections stretch into infinity, each one containing the next, never arriving at a last image. That is what awareness is, an infinite hall of mirrors, looking at itself forever. You are not outside this loop, you are inside it, part of the endless reflection. Each thought, each perception, each recognition is one mirror reflecting another, without final origin. This endlessness can feel unsettling. If there is no final seer, then who are you? But look closer, and the fear softens. You are not lost in the recursion. You are the recursion. You are not separate from the endless looking. You are the looking itself. And in that recognition, there is peace. There is no need for a final point. The act of looking is already whole. Even daily life reflects this. You search for meaning, and each answer leads to another question. You seek happiness, and each joy gives rise to new longing. You chase certainty, and each conclusion opens to doubt. Life itself is looking without end, looping endlessly. Yet in that looping is vitality. Without it, existence would stagnate. The endless looking is not failure, it is life. Science echoes this paradox too. The deeper physicists look into matter, the more layers appear. Molecules within atoms, particles within particles, fields within fields. There is no final substance, only deeper looking. Cosmology stretches outward the same way. Galaxies within clusters, clusters within larger structures, space expanding without boundary. At every scale the universe mirrors the same truth. Looking never ends. And yet, there is wonder in this. If looking has no end, then every moment is fresh. There is no final word, no final form, no closure to trap you. Each perception is a doorway into more, each thought a bridge into deeper awareness. You are never finished, because looking itself is infinite. This is not limitation, it is freedom. Tonight, as you rest here, notice this endless gaze. Do not try to find its source. Simply observe how every thought, every sensation, every silence arises in awareness, and awareness looks at it. Then notice that this very noticing is also seen. The loop continues, effortlessly, endlessly, looking without end. And perhaps the deepest truth is this. You do not need to resolve the loop. You are the loop. You are awareness endlessly reflecting, endlessly alive. Looking without end is not a puzzle to solve. It is the essence of being, the infinite act in which you exist. There is no final object. There is no final seer. There is only looking, forever. And you are it. From the very first breath to this moment now, existence has been gazing at itself through you. Every thought, every sensation, every memory, every silence has been part of this great act of awareness. What seemed like your life alone, your story, your struggles, your joys, was always part of something larger. It was the universe looking at itself, endlessly, through countless forms. We have traveled through many reflections, mirrors, shadows, horizons, echoes, loops. Each one revealed the same truth from a different angle. The observer and the observed are never separate. Being and awareness are not two. The universe is not a stage upon which you stand. It is you, living, breathing, noticing. When you looked at the stars, you were the stars looking back. When you touched your own thoughts, you were matter touching itself through consciousness. The witness that has followed you across every section is not fragile, not fleeting. It does not belong only to you. It is the same witness alive in all beings, the same awareness wearing countless eyes. It is the final witness, silent, timeless, beyond edges. And yet, it is never far away. It is here, in this moment, watching these words appear, noticing the silence that surrounds them. It has always been here. This recognition softens fear. Death, which once seemed like an ending, is revealed as a change of form. The witness remains, beyond body, beyond thought. Existence loops again, endlessly alive. The self you thought was limited dissolves into the greater truth. You are not only part of the universe, you are the universe, awake to itself. And yet, there is no final conclusion. Looking never ends. Awareness does not arrive at a last answer or a final point of certainty. It continues, reflecting, looping, spiraling without end. This is not a flaw. It is the beauty of being. Infinity does not need closure. It needs only to see, again and again through every form it creates. So tonight, as you rest, allow yourself to soften into this truth. You do not need to solve existence. You do not need to grasp the final answer. You are already part of the answer. The gaze itself, the looking, the awareness in which everything unfolds. The mirror never breaks. The witness never leaves. The universe will continue to look at itself, endlessly, and through you, it already does. Rest in that.